Welcome in, everyone, to Football Friday, presented by Football Addicts Anonymous. Mark's here. We got Nate coming on for the college pick segment. Special guest. Chris is currently driving through a dead zone right now, so he'll be on in a little bit. But yeah, dude, couple really good games. Monday night football, Thursday night football last night. Also had a college game last night. Bunch of injuries to go through, and then we'll get to our picks. So let's get it rolling here. This is a preview of our pick for one of – that is not the right one. Apologies. That is the other This is the right one. Okay. So starting off with the college game last night, Louisiana took down Ohio 49-14. Levi Lewis looked fantastic. Really great game by him passing the ball. He is also very mobile, running for 61 yards. It was just, like you say a lot of the times during college, Mark, mismatch of talent. You know, Louisiana, one of the top.
I think we all expected this.
Yeah. Career night, though, for Montrell Johnson for the Raging Cajuns. 4 rushing touchdowns to go along with 84 yards on the ground and 15 yards through the air. Really solid. I wasn't paying attention too much to this game, but it was close in the first half, though, ending 21-7 at halftime. So not terrible, you know.
I saw the score at the halftime. I didn't pay attention to it either. And so I said to myself, either it's going to be a runaway second half or, Louisiana is going to win by, I thought, at least by 3 touchdowns. But they did expand the lead in the second half. And like you said, just career game. But I think they distributed the ball on the ground evenly to about everybody. If they didn't, I think he would have ran for 200+ yards and probably 5-6 touchdowns.
Yeah. The craziest thing. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
What's up? How's it going?
Good. Happy Football Friday. But the crazy thing, 3 out of the 4 touchdowns for Johnson, all 1-yard touchdown runs. 3 out of those 4. So yeah, a lot of great performances, specifically on the ground. Louisiana ran for 312 yards in this game. Just ground and pound type of game, keeping the ball away from the Bobcats. And the ESPN, I don't know what their issue was, didn't have the defensive stats available. It's literally the day after the game, ESPN. You should have these things available on your app. So, we have the 1 interception by Alvin Floyd for Ohio. That was the only defensive stat that was available. So, Louisiana did cover -19, and the over 57 hit. Let's go to Monday Night Football, overtime. And the Raiders shocked everyone in Vegas, 33-27 win. Derek Carr had a monster of a passing night. Darren Waller had a monster of a receiving night as well. And I guess you will have that when you're getting 19 targets in a game.
Yeah.
This game.
Go ahead.
This game obviously had one of the most wild endings I think I've ever seen, with all those turnovers and whatnot at the end of the game. But like you said, Rusty, obviously Darren Waller is going to be Darren Waller. He's going to shred everybody up. unfortunately, it was against me in fantasy this week, so he kind of blew my team out of the water. But yeah, I don't know. This was a very interesting game on a lot of fronts because obviously it's only week 1, so you don't want to look too much into it. But the Ravens didn't look all that great at times, and the Raiders, I think, looked better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. So is this how the season is going to play out for both teams, or do you think this was just like a kind of like a fluke thing for the Ravens and kind of just luck for the Raiders?
Mark?
You want to answer that, or you want me to kind of give an opinion?
Yeah. Your thoughts on this one?
Okay. A lot of takeaways from the Raiders side and one from Baltimore's side. The Raiders takeaway side is Darren Waller is solidified himself as the third best tight end in NFL. Does anyone want to argue that? I mean, he's right there with the two people that you think of that are on the Chiefs and 49ers. What I was impressed with was the defensive edge pressure that the Raiders were able to bring. Now, we know that Baltimore traded away one of their key linemen to the Chiefs, which is weird because they got to play him in the playoffs and this Sunday. So I actually think the Raiders can be better moving forward, if that makes sense. And it all hinges on the decisions of Derek Carr. On the flip side, the 2 turnovers by Lamar Jackson were the very difference in this game.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Gus Bradley had the defense fired up. Specifically, Mr. Crosby. Max Crosby was on a mission all night long. 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits on Lamar Jackson. Was the one that forced the fumble to set the Raiders up in position to go win it with the Zay Jones 31-yard touchdown reception from Derek Carr to win it. One thing that I was annoyed about, fantasy-wise and betting-wise, specifically fantasy-wise, though, because I lost for this reason, was Mark Andrews. We talked about Darren Waller for the Raiders, but, dude, Mark Andrews did nothing. He had, I think, 2 catches for 20-something yards, or 3 catches for 20 yards or something like that.
Yeah, he got me 5+ points. So, yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. 3 catches for 20 yards. Yeah. 5 points in fantasy.
I actually think that was a kind of a to piggyback off you, not to exhaust this discussion. But I thought John Gruden did a lot better in his his offensive schemes than John. I think Tyson Williams should have got more targets in the passing games, and look at his average, 7.2, and it's not like they were ever down or trying to play catch up. I would have fed him the ball, and I thought they said, hey, Lamar Jackson, here's the ball. We're on a primetime game, and let's go back to your MVP season instead of sharing the ball with the tight end and sharing the ball with the running back.
Well, the thing about Tyson Williams is numbers 35 of that came on his opening touchdown run. So really only 8 for 30, which still isn't terrible.
Not terrible. It's not great, but I just think that they could have used it in the passing game.
Yeah, 3.8 per carry, 8 carries for 30 yards there. Was surprised by Sammy Watkins. Granted, again, just like Tyson Williams, though, many of his yards on the long throw that he had from Lamar. But yeah, defensively, like I said, Max Crosby, Odafe Owe, I am excited that he got a sack in this one because it helps his chances of Defensive Rookie of the Year, which I have a wager on. So keep doing it, Owe.
I actually think the Raiders could possibly be a dog this week, but that's later on in the show.
The Raiders did cover +3. I hit on a +5.5 for them on this one, and then the over 51. I hate Daniel Carlson with a burning passion because my fraternity league I lost because the matchup was Mark Andrews versus Daniel Carlson. I came into the matchup up like 2 points. What happened? Daniel Carlson outscores Mark Andrews by 6, 11-5. Like, dude, I can't believe I lost to a freaking kicker with supposedly a top 5 tight end. All right, let's go.
Hey, he is, but the Ravens just don't know how to pass the ball.
He was open many times. I agree.
Going 0-2 in the middle of this week, we went 1-1. Thank the Lord for a 1-point win.
Yeah. Washington football team getting it done at home, 30-29. Or no, this was at the Giants. This is at home. Yeah, right.
It was in Washington, I think. Yeah.
You always put
it was in Washington
first, and that's confusing.
But yeah, dude, Taylor Heineke. First question: is he the guy? Because I think he is.
I don't know.
He's got those intangibles where his talent isn't as much as whatever quarterback you want to compare him to. His intangibles are there. Does that make sense? His heart, his guts. As long as he doesn't turn it over, I think he has this job.
Yeah, I mean, his inexperience showed last night. Obviously, he had that great touchdown to Ricky Seals-Jones at the end of the game there. But when they had the chance to go down and steal the game, whatever, he threw that bad interception too. So I don't know.
Oh, Chris, don't get me started.
I don't know if I'm ready to crown him starter. But I mean, I still think it's Fitzpatrick's job when he comes back. But if they continue to win, and if Heineke continues to show that he can progress and play well, then yeah, I think it's his job. Right now, I'm not ready to crown him yet.
Yeah, don't get me started about that freaking interception, dude. I lost a parlay last night, a player prop parlay, because they didn't run the ball 3 times and punt the ball when they were up and inside their own 15, 20-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
I needed Antonio Gibson to get 4 freaking yards. And he had already ran for a first down on the first play of the drive. Then he ran for another 4 yards or 3 yards on the second play. It was like 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6. I was like, dude, you're running the ball fine. All you got to do is get 1 first down and you win the game. Why in the hell would you throw the ball, Scott Turner?
I think in this game, we had some good cornerback play, whether that was Kendall Fuller or James Bradbury, which is, going against his old coach. Wasn't he in Carolina for a little while, James Bradbury, or what?
Yeah.
And we can talk about the running backs and their performance. We had some, I think subpar performances. So my main question about this before we even move on is, what is Daniel Jones's future? Does New York Giants have to move on after this season? Does he have time to show him this season? Does he get benched this season? What goes on there? We already know the after media session where he had to address issues with a certain player. And so what is his future?
See, I don't think he's the problem, though. I think the Giants, like, their offensive line is probably one of the worst in football, if not the worst. So he doesn't have much time to do anything anyway. Plus, he has an injured running back as his starting running back. I mean, yes, I know he's back from the injury, but he missed essentially 2 whole years from this injury or these injuries that he's had. So he's definitely not up to 100%. Plus, they even said it on the broadcast last night about Saquon or about the injury in general, that those kind of injuries, you don't really feel up to 100% until like 2 years after the injury, not just like a year after when you come back. So yeah, Saquon's definitely not up to it either. So I don't think it's really necessarily Daniel Jones's fault. I think he's actually progressed relatively well.
See, and I'm somewhere with you on, I don't think that he's a terrible quarterback, but I think he's almost got that Sam Darnold effect. I'm not comparing them like talent or what they've done, but I think he needs a change of scenery, and I believe the Giants are going to have to move on, whether that's because of results in the win-loss column or their fans.
Mark, check your phone. Check your phone.
And wait, Rusty, you were talking about the kicker for the Raiders kind of making you lose the game last night or last week. How about Dustin Hopkins, the game winner? I mean, because of Dexter Lawrence, he got that field goal. If Dexter Lawrence didn't go off sides, then he gets minus points. So obviously this was game 1 of the week. So we can't really tell how much this actually affects the scores, but that was a big swing right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was interesting seeing what Kim Jones put on Twitter today in the interview with Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, he said you can't do that at that point in the game, in the high pressure situation that it was, and then the follow up was, well, were you offside? And he said, my opinion doesn't matter, which I sort of agree. I mean, it doesn't matter what he says. If the ref says it's offside, it's offside.
It's true. That's actually a great answer. That's probably the best answer you can give in that situation.
Yeah. So,
I think moving forward, though, the Giants are the clear-cut worst team in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, especially because, like we'll talk about, they lost another lineman in this game, a lineman that they had just moved from center to guard because they inserted Billy Price at center for this game. And, besides Saquon, I know you're talking about Saquon earlier, Chris. Besides Saquon's long run, all of his other carries throughout the first 2 weeks, I believe they said he's averaging like 2 point something per carry with the line. Line is terrible. And it's funny because that's what Gettleman said they were focusing on in the offseason. And it still hasn't gotten any better. You know, Andrew Thomas has consistently been the worst out of the big four offensive tackles in that draft class of 2019 or 2020. I mean, 2020. And it doesn't matter if he's playing right tackle or left tackle. It hasn't worked out in that regard. So yeah, the Giants, Daniel Jones is going to have a hard season. And the shameful thing is that he has receivers to throw to. It's just, can he get enough time, especially if they want to play and go deep, which they only did a couple times in the game. But yeah, I thought, again, Antonio Gibson screwed me in this game. Loving Taylor Heineke, his first career win after 2 losses. Well, he only had one loss as a starter. The other game he played in 2020, he came in relief of Dwayne Haskins against the Panthers. But like what Taylor Heineke was doing in this one, if they can get more of a ground game from Antonio Gibson and the like, I think that'll be a good situation for Washington. And defensively, a lot of Washington. The thing that concerns me about Washington, though, the secondary has given up a lot in the first 2 weeks. Justin Herbert carved them up last week. Daniel Jones was relatively carving them up in this one as well. So the secondary's got to play a lot better outside of Kendall Fuller. I think Kendall Fuller is the only one that has been playing very consistently because he's just been locking up number one, and that was Kenny Golladay in this game. So Sterling Shepard had a game. Terry McLaurin had a game as well.
Mm-hmm. One name that's not on there that I think should be with the way their offensive line is Mr. Chase Young.
Well, he actually didn't fill the stat sheet. What can I say?
Yeah.
Not like
he's not
Allen.
Yeah, Chase Young isn't performing up to your expectations, Rusty. Aren't you the one that picked him for Defensive Player of the Year in our picks?
Yeah, and I think the issue is that he's the one that everyone doubles.
Yeah.
3 tackles, 3 solos, 1 tackle for loss for Chase Young in this one. But yeah, Jonathan Allen was a monster all night, and so was the rest of the Washington defensive line. The Giants covered, however, +4 and over 42. All right, NCAA news. There is one kind of 2 nuggets. So the USC job. There have been rumors starting about who is going to get that job, and 2 NFL people have been rumored right now. Chiefs offense coordinator Eric Bieniemy. They said he is a strong candidate. He has mentioned before that he would love to have the USC job. And the other one is Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer, but he shut that down real quick. So he said he's not interested in that job, which is fine. I
mean, you gotta kind of say that though if you're the head coach of a new team and you've only played 1 game.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I would never trust Urban Meyer more than you or I or Rusty could throw him. And we might be strong individuals, but it's not going to be very far. Because you saw what he did to Florida and said, "Oh, I'm going away from my health issues, and I'm going to go watch my kids play, my daughters play volleyball," and then boom, he was right back in the saddle. And he was rumored at USC when he was not coaching anywhere. With that said, he is making a whole lot of bread. I mean, the Jaguars are paying him handsomely. He's got a new rookie quarterback. And the way that I read into Bieniemy's answer, he said something to the effect that I am the Chiefs coordinator and I'm focused on this right now. It seems to me that he might be primed for taking that job, especially since he said that he's wanted it in the past. I wouldn't doubt if he does take that job.
Yeah. The only thing that I would be sad about with Bieniemy if he would get the USC job is that he's only going to have Keaton Slovis for I think 2 years max. I think Slovis is a redshirt sophomore this year. I'm not exactly sure what his classification is.
You know that he would be Heisman working with him.
Yeah. But yeah, back to Urban Meyer though. You know, this has happened before with other coaches. Nick Saban said he was staying with the Dolphins, didn't he, Mark? Nick Saban said he was committed to the Dolphins.
And look how it's worked out for Nick Saban. I think it would work out. I think Urban Meyer would take over and immediately they would be in the college football playoff year in and year out. I mean, he's done it in SEC. He's done it in the Big Ten. I think USC is.
He did it in the Pac-12. Well, Utah wasn't in the Pac-12 when he was there, right? They were in the Mountain West.
They were outside of the Power Five group, so Mountain West.
Yeah,
and they came to him, but he led after leaving. That's the reason. But I guess what I'm saying is they're primed to be in a better position, in my opinion, than Texas right now. If Urban Meyer goes there, they're going to give him ample support economically, open up recruiting. Just like, and I believe I heard Keyshawn on an interview. It wasn't on his show with Jay Will, but it was just a video clip that, they're not going to go after some mid-level up-and-coming coach. It's going to be a star coach. They're tired of the way the program has been since Pete Carroll, which I said last week. It's been in flux since Pete Carroll left. So they're going to go get somebody like Urban Myers, and that's why I could care less what he says. I think Bieniemy is, a big name. Maybe he hasn't been a college head coach, but look at the quarterbacks that he's produced. But I think that's puts Urban Meyer front and center for the job, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact people on the list that USC has right now. It's very early in the decision process, but I would have to think some other names there. Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina, Billy Napier with Louisiana, who we just talked about. Those two specifically at Group of Five schools that have been consistently winners, as well as Hugh Freeze at Liberty. Got to think about him. So, all right, NFL news. Some general stuff in the beginning here. The NFL announced last night during halftime of the Thursday night game, the Indianapolis Colts will be a part of the first ever in-season Hard Knocks show, which should be intriguing to watch. I'm not sure how much star power in terms of personality the Colts have, though. That would be my only thing with like watchability of the show. How exciting are the Colts actually?
That's actually a good question. I mean, besides just watching a team in the middle of the season, it's not like they have a bunch of star power. You're right there.
Like I think Darius Leonard will probably steal the show from everyone. I think he will probably be the best one to watch on the show, but
yeah, I'm a little like so about this because one, I think the training camp Hard Knocks are better because they have all the rookies and on the bubble players that are trying to make the team. So that makes it more interesting to watch and it gives you people to root for. Plus, when you do a regular season version of the show, there's a chance, especially with the Colts right now, that they're not going to have a great record right now. So I don't know how like hyped up the team's going to be. Like you said, there's not a lot of personality on that team, I don't think. So I don't know. I don't know if the Colts were the best team to go with for this first version of the show.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the two that come to mind that will probably right off the bat, I think have the most personality on the show will be Darius Leonard and Justin Houston. Even the old man, I think he will still be one of the people that's at the top in terms of being a fun guy to watch on the show. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be fun at all.
How about your boy, Rodrigo?
Dude, if they put Rigo on the show, that'll be fun. All right. Another general thing here. The Saints, they announced their plan to return to New Orleans finally in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. So they are going to be in Dallas again this week, working out and practicing. And then they have a game in Carolina. and then they will head to New England right away to go have a week's worth of practice up in New England, play at the Patriots next week, and then come back to New Orleans and play a home game in week 4.
Hey, I mean, they performed so well in Jacksonville. I wouldn't mind if they played their entire season there, but I know that's not going to happen.
That was more of an Aaron Rodgers sucking in Florida than the Saints playing well.
Something.
All right. The NFLPA recommended this week that the NFL reinstate wide receiver Josh Gordon. I don't even know what number this is for him. So, sure, why not?
They should just leave him reinstated because no team's going to probably pick him up anyway. He's too old and he hasn't played in God knows how long. So
it doesn't matter. Chris, though, once someone announces that this team is interested in Josh Gordon, fantasy goes nuts and picks him up. Every person and their mother is going to pick up Josh Gordon in fantasy if any team announces that they're interested in him. Because that's just how fantasy works. One little nugget sets a frenzy off. All right. Some suspensions. Not that they really matter too much, but they are relatively bigger names. Both of these guys, free agents. Tight end Kelvin Benjamin, he was suspended for the next 2 weeks. And then free agent guard DJ Fluker suspended for the next 6 weeks. Neither of those suspensions had any reasoning behind them on Twitter. So I would expect the Fluker thing is a substance abuse because that's what 6 weeks sounds like. Not sure exactly what Benjamin's deal was with only being 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Some COVID list issues here. So the Saints, Michael Thomas, already on IR or on the PUP. He stayed on PUP after training camp out for the first 6 weeks. He was now placed on the COVID list as well, testing positive there. But, Chris, good news. Your Jets, they did activate wide receiver Jamison Crowder from the COVID list, and he's going to play this week.
I mean, I don't know how much of an upgrade that is. Obviously, he was great with Darnold and stuff, but I like the connection that Wilson and
Corey Davis.
And Davis, thank you. Corey Davis. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. I like the connection they were doing, so I don't really want anything to mess it up. Obviously, outside of Davis, the wide receivers didn't do that great, so maybe a little help, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I kind of need him in my one dynasty league, Chris. I don't. My receiving depth is pretty shallow. So, all right, let's get to injuries here. So the Broncos, they placed corner Ronald Darby on IR with a hamstring injury. He's going to be out at least, and then he will be week to week. After that, we know how hamstrings go. We never know. So back to your Jets, though, Chris. A lot of injuries. Left tackle Bekai Becton, he underwent knee surgery. He's going to be out 4 to 8 weeks, placed on IR. Also placed on IR for the Jets, linebacker Blake Cashman, safety LaMarcus Joyner, and punter Braden Mann.
Yeah, the LaMarcus Joyner, I'm pretty sure is out for the season. I don't know the severity of the other guys, but yeah, it kind of sucks to see Joyner go down already after only one game, or less than a game, I guess. But yeah, he was supposed to be a big part of the secondary, which now is even thinner than it was before.
Ashton Davis got to step up there.
Not happening.
Hey, former 3rd round pick, dude. He better step up. I think the punter there, Braden Mann's pretty big deal. Really good rookie season last year.
Hey, I gotta say though, Amendola did a pretty good job stepping in,
Doing
being
both.
the punter and the kicker. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Amendola's good, dude. I mean, Oklahoma State boy. So, the Ravens, they elevated running back Devontae Freeman from the practice squad this week. We'll see how much work he gets behind Tyson Williams and Latavius Murray, which I picked him up in my fraternity league. Just hoping that I can get a running back somewhere as my third back because I don't have anyone. All right, Niners injuries here. Running back Raheem Mostert, he is out for the year with his knee injury he suffered in week 1. Also, linebacker Drake Greenlaw had the pick 6 off of Jared Goff in week 1. He will have surgery to repair a core muscle injury. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Pretty big blow for the Niners linebacking core there. All right, let's get to the laundry list of Saints on the injury report this week and headed to IR as well. So, Saints corner Marshawn Lattimore signed that massive extension pretty much at game time. He had surgery on his a chipped bone in his thumb. He's going to be week to week. And Saints center Eric McCoy, he is expected to miss some time as well with a calf strain. I would expect Cesar Ruiz would slide over from guard to center in that aspect. And then placed on IR today for the Saints, linebacker Quan Alexander and defensive end Marcus Davenport after a pretty solid game for Davenport. And we've already talked extensively about the linebacker depth for the Saints.
Well, let's just hope that offense continues to do what they did last week. That's all I can say.
Well, they better hope they can because there is one Mr. CMC running down the tracks this weekend. So the linebackers better be ready. All right, Bengals safety Ricardo Allen, he's going to be out 3 weeks with a broken hand and a hamstring strain. He was placed on the IR. And they also signed Sean Davis to their practice squad, former Steeler safety, as well as Colt, I believe. I don't know. He was with Washington, I believe, at some point. I don't know. He's been all over the place since he got released by the Steelers a couple years ago. Big blow to the Cowboys pass rush defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence. He is out for the majority of the season. He broke his foot in practice this week. He broke the 5th metatarsal, gonna need surgery, and he could return possibly in November. So they have him out. Randy Gregory's on the COVID list right now. Yeah, they have pass rush issues, dire pass rush issues in Dallas.
And who do they play this week?
The Chargers.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for them.
In LA. At SoFi Stadium. All right. Also, just like the Saints, the Raiders had a long list of injuries from week 1 as well. Guard Denzel Good, he tore his ACL on Monday Night Football. He's done for the year. IR. Defensive tackle Gerald McCoy, also done for the year, placed on IR as well. And then backup quarterback Marcus Mariota, he's going to be out multiple weeks. He has a quad injury that he aggravated during Monday Night Football on his 31-yard run. Pretty big blow to the Raiders offense. At least they said. Apparently they had a lot of packages inserted into their offense that they were going to use Mariota in a variety of different ways this year. So at least a couple weeks he won't be able to be used. So Nathan Peterman is the backup in Vegas for now. All right, and last night, alluded to this earlier, Giants offensive lineman Nick Gates, he suffered a lower leg fracture. He is done for the year. I was disappointed. I understand why they didn't show it on the broadcast. I always am a weirdo and like to see what happens, even when it's gruesome. But I did see a picture, just a still picture of his ankle kind of waving in the wind. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but yeah, I would have liked to actually see how it happened.
Yeah.
They didn't show it. They didn't replay it. So I don't know. Yet they replayed Dak's ankle last year. I don't
know.
I don't get why some they do and some they don't. They're like, well, it's a quarterback. Maybe we should show it again. But no, it's offensive lineman. We don't care. He's not important enough.
Maybe the cameras didn't pick it up either. Who knows?
Oh, I'm sure they did. They have like 30 cameras on these games, Chris.
That is true.
The Chargers also losing an offensive lineman. They placed right tackle Brian Balago on IR today. So not as big of a deal without the Marcus Lawrence on the opposite side this weekend for the Cowboys. So at least that's not as big of a blow for the Chargers. But overall, we know their tackles are not that great besides Balago. So
I mean,
and
they got Slater, so yeah.
So but the depth of Trey Pipkins and Sam Tevy have not been that great. The Packers, they placed pass rusher Zadarius Smith on IR. He has a back injury, only played about 18 snaps against the Saints in week 1. So their best pass rusher done for at least the next 3 weeks. Browns placing linebacker Anthony Walker on IR. He has a hamstring strain, should be able to return after the minimum 3 weeks on IR. That was a big blow to my daily fantasy play in the one app that I'm playing on because it has individual defensive players installed. You get to draft 3 in these tournaments that are like snake drafts. And I drafted Anthony Walker. Thought he was going to have a big day this weekend against the Texans, but he's out now. So
that's not.
I picked up Devin Bush instead, and now he apparently is questionable with the quad or a hamstring, something like that. The Patriots, they placed kicker Quinn Nordine on IR with an abdomen injury. He's going to be likely to return in November. Nick Folk, currently on the practice squad, he kicked for the Patriots this past weekend. Will be kicking for the Patriots from here on out. All right, and a couple of people ruled out this week already. The Browns ruled out wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. for the second straight week, dealing with his coming back from his injury. The Vikings, a host of them, ruled out linebacker Anthony Barr, offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw, and defensive end Everson Griffin, who suffered a concussion after swerving to avoid a deer on the way to the facility this morning. So that happened. Everson Griffin is out this week, concussion. Eagles safety Rodney McLeod, just like OBJ, he is out again, still coming back from his ACL tear from last season. The Dolphins wide receiver Will Fuller, he's out this week as well, dealing with personal issues. So not going to make his Dolphins debut yet, coming off the last game of his 6-game suspension in week 1. The Raiders running back Josh Jacobs announced today that he is out this week dealing with toe and ankle injuries. So it will be Kenyon Drake going against the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as who's that receiving back they have there?
I can't think of who it is.
Right. I can't think of it either. I know he's a receiving back, though. He's not necessarily a first and second down running back a lot of the times. And then a guy that says he believes he can play this week, which is very good news for the Colts. Left tackle Eric Fisher coming off a ruptured Achilles in the AFC Championship game, I believe.
Yeah.
With the Chiefs. Yeah, he said he thinks he can play this week, and we'll see. That would be a big boost to the Colts offensive line facing off against the Rams' vaunted defensive line. Some transactions here. The Panthers. I was kind of distraught by this transaction. The Panthers released kicker Ryan Santoso, and they signed kicker Zane Gonzalez. And I know why. I hated the reason they did it so they wouldn't have to pay the Giants a 7th round pick. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Why does it matter? It's a 7th round selection. And it was like a 2023, I believe. I don't remember the exact trade. But yeah, it's like if the condition was if Santoso was on the roster for 2 games, on the active roster for 2 games, that they would have to send that pick, and they didn't want to do that.
What makes me sad about that, and sorry, I had a phone call. One of our neighbors is a nurse, and she couldn't come home, so I had to take her dog out. But is in the NFL a 7th round pick that doesn't always make your roster. So what are you really doing by saving a 7th round pick?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that I know a lot of teams like to use those as the trade chips. So maybe they're just saving that for moving up or something in the draft. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The Panthers had used a lot of their draft capital for the next draft, acquiring players this offseason. So their draft capital is sort of depleted in terms of 2nd and 3rd day picks right now. But
I will say I don't think they're competing for a Super Bowl. So I think that's something that you put in per perspective. But it's also a kicker can win or lose a game, if that makes sense as well. And so I don't think they're competing for a Super Bowl right now. So they covet a draft pick more than Santos, I guess.
Yeah, I was just really sad. I was a high believer in Santoso, even after just 1 regular season game, beat out Joey Sly in the preseason finale, was perfect in his regular season debut. And now it's Zane Gonzalez, I guess. Sure. Why not? All right. The Jags, they released running back Duke Johnson from their practice squad. So he is looking for a job once again. Couple from the Niners here. They claimed running back Trenton Cannon off of waivers from the Ravens. Also, they signed Lions running back Kerryon Johnson to their practice squad. Former Lions running back Kerryon Johnson, also former Eagles running back Kerryon Johnson. So just bolstering their running back depth after Mostert's season-ending injury. And it's funny because Cannon always gets activated to the active roster before the brand name people. But it's because he can play special teams. That's why. That's the only reason. He's a decent 4th-string running back, and he can play special teams, which is what you need. The Raiders, in the place of Gerald McCoy going on IR, they signed defensive tackle Damian Square to their practice squad, or from the Bears practice squad, signed to the active roster from the Bears practice squad. The Colts, they signed safety Anderson Dejo. Talked about him working out for them last week. And then the Jets, they signed punter Thomas Morstead, longtime Saints punter Thomas Morstead. But with Braden Mann on IR, needed a new punter there. So Morstead is the guy.
Yeah, I was kind of I was kind of excited to see that. Obviously, like you said, Morstead is a longtime Saint, so he's on the older side. So I don't know how much power he has in his leg left, but yeah, I know he's obviously been a good punter in this league. So yeah, I'm happy with that signing for now.
Yeah, I would have to think Morstead is pushing 40.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know exactly where he's at, but and his former team, the Saints, they signed wide receiver Kenny Stills to their practice squad where it all started in New Orleans with Kenny Stills. And then they also worked out former Chiefs center Austin Ryder with the injury to Eric McCoy. All right, pick standings here. College football pick standings. Last week, Chris took it home, 26-8. Mark 25-9, myself 24-10, and it worked out so well that our records evened out from week one. We are all exactly the same. So we'll bring in Nate now for our college picks. If Nate would like to come on here, we're going to get this thing rolling, the college picks, starting tonight. So, and there is Nate. What is up, sir?
What's going on, guys? It's good to be here.
All right, so tonight we're starting off UCF 2-0, 7-point favorite at Louisville. Yeah, I love Dylan Gabriel in this matchup. I have loved him the entire season so far. Told you he would beat Boise State. They did that. They're also coming off a win against Bethune-Cookman, 63-14. No big deal there. Louisville, obviously, they got smashed by Ole Miss. Played Eastern Kentucky last week in a big 30-3 win. But yeah, I think this should be an entertaining game. Malik Cunningham for Louisville, Dylan Gabriel for UCF. Let's get it rolling. A lot of points coming.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good matchup. The reason I went with UCF, in my opinion, is they're similar to Ole Miss, especially having an SEC coach that's took over. So I think that gives them the edge, but I do expect a back and forth game.
Nate, you're picking, so.
All right, so I'm going to go with Louisville here, actually, guys.
Wow.
I'm just kind of going with them just to be the oddball one out here.
That oddball is actually in your favor. When we all pick the same, it doesn't go well.
Nate, if this doesn't work out, if your record isn't good, we're not having you back next week. All right. This one tonight, over-under is 68. Like I said, I think there's a lot of points coming in this one. It'll get close. I think both teams can score in the 30s, but it's not going to get to 68. I think a 35-31 win for UCF is relatively correct. A good prediction. So that makes it 66 under 68. And Louisville cover.
And Louisville will cover.
Yep. 7:30 ESPN. All right, the Fighting Dave Meweyes, 2-0, 7-point favorites at Illinois. Brett Bielema, they have been the biggest catfish of the entire college football season so far, and everyone knows it. Talia Tagovailoa coming in has played exceptionally well. He is my boy. I love Maryland in this one, and I have the under, which I'll talk about.
The only thing that scares me is Illinois a wild card, but I have to ask you, did you like how I text you who was going to win?
Yeah, I did.
I said the Fighting Meweyes, baby.
Yeah, like I said, I just love Maryland's offense. Oh, Chris went through a dead zone. Yes, we'd love to see that. But yeah, I just love the Maryland offense. Dante Demas with Talia Tagovailoa is amazing. Sitkowski has played exceptionally well for Illinois in the place of Brandon Peters, but I think the Maryland defense can get it done. And yeah, I like the Terps.
It's one of those at this moment in time. I think there's just more talent on one side. I think, Brett has coached and he's coached around the country, but I just have more talent on Maryland right now.
And we know how good Mike Loxley is as well. Not to discount him either for Maryland, head coach there.
You're right.
Nate.
All right, I'm gonna go with Maryland on this one here. I just everything you guys said, basically just overall a better football team.
And it's because it's the Fighting Dave Mueyes.
Well said. Well said, Fred.
Chris, do you have any input on the Maryland game here?
Besides,
I just, yeah, obviously we're all on Maryland train, but I'm probably the most hesitant out of everybody when picking Maryland.
Yeah, Chris is definitely having mountain issues.
Because I don't know, I just Leah has.
You're having mountain issues, Chris.
moving on. You picked Maryland.
Yeah, I have the under.
Yeah.
I had the under 61 in this one. I'm not very confident in Illinois' offense. And I think both defenses can play pretty well. We know Brett Bielema is known for running the ball and defense. So
if we come back Monday and Illinois does win this game, it's because Maryland has 3+ turnovers, in my opinion.
Right. Which Talia hasn't thrown a pick this season. Knock on wood.
You just said it out loud. Now I want to change my pick.
I just knocked on the wood though. 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for Talia. All right, 9 p.m. FS1. Mark's staying up.
In bed, but I'll be watching it.
All right, tomorrow's games. Starting off, Nebraska 2-1 at number 3. Oklahoma 2-0.
About this, do we have to talk about it?
Not very long. Number 3 Oklahoma. Sooners 22.5-point favorites here. They're gonna roll it.
All I'm gonna say is if it gets as bad as it can get, let's say that they win by 32. And I'm saying like they cover what the spread is right now. Nebraska is going to fire Scott Frost. You heard it first right here on FAA podcast.
I still think they should have fired him after they lost Illinois week 0.
And that's all I'm saying is if Oklahoma makes them look worse than Tulane, he's gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. Great.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say obviously Oklahoma here. Obviously just based off of the rankings. Overall better team.
Spencer Rattler.
And here's the thing, not to prolong it, but here's the thing that also, if they put a beat down on Nebraska and USC job is open, I would want to get rid of Scott Frost and go, okay, we're gonna hire, Urban Meyer before USC does, or we're gonna hire Bieniemy before USC. Not saying that he has any interest in this job, but you want to get out in front of, someone taking the marquee coach that you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Why not hire Clay Helton at Nebraska? I still don't think Clay Helton was that bad at USC. But
Well, I mean, I said that Friday. I just said they didn't have any stability, and I would have liked them to play out the rest of the season.
yeah,
And I think that would be a good hire. But if you could get Billy Napier, I mean, I think this would be a marquee as you're coming into the SEC. He's got the Alabama ties. Even if you said, "Hey, we're going to put an intern coach the rest of the season," but we have a commitment from Billy, I would even, as an AD, I think those are things that you can discuss. Hey, you stay at Louisiana this entire season, but you are the coach at Nebraska when your season's done. We don't want anyone else to hire you.
over under is 62 in this game. I don't have a beat on it. So, yeah.
I think it could be over for both, just because maybe Nebraska scores a couple of times, but Oklahoma just scores a lot.
12 p.m. Fox. New Mexico surprising Lobos 2-0. All right, UNM at number 7 Texas A&M Aggies 2-0 under Jimbo Fisher, 30-point favorites. Blowout city here.
That is a lot, guys. God.
Yeah. Texas A&M struggled mightily last week against Colorado, only winning 10-7. New Mexico, their 2 wins, 27-17 over Houston Baptist, 34-25 over New Mexico State, Battle of New Mexico last week. Yeah, and then Texas A&M's other win, 41-10 against Kent State. So, yeah, should be a bloodbath. New quarterback for A&M is not Haynes King. I forget the other kid. Cardoza. Blanking on his first name, but yeah, Cardoza, the new quarterback with Haynes King hurt. So yeah, Aggies roll.
Look, Aggies are going to win this, but they're one of the teams I can't figure out. To me, Jimbo Fisher doesn't have an identity besides he wins games, but he does it different ways since he's been at A&M, and he hasn't figured out the quarterback position since Jameis Winston. Like, he didn't make Kellen Mond all that good. He didn't. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't that good, and he didn't have a good preseason. So I don't understand the extension that they gave him. I don't know what's going on in College Station. I really don't. Are they thinking to have a longer tenure than Nick Saban? I mean, what is going on in College Station?
Okay, Nate.
Yeah, I'm going with Texas A&M here. I think they rebound from last week. They should win by at least 15. I'm saying here.
3 touchdowns easily.
Over under is 51. I like the over.
I don't know. I don't know if I like that because based on how A&M has been playing, I don't know. Even though it is against New Mexico, who isn't that great either, but I don't know. I don't know if I like it.
Colorado was a pretty good team.
They will not throw the ball very much in this game. A&M will. They are going to run Devin Achane and Isaiah Spiller a hell of a lot, and they're going to run for over 250 yards.
Geez, that's a bold statement.
That's true, though. That's true. I'm with you there.
12 p.m. SEC Network. Number 8, Cincinnati, heading 3.5-point favorites, heading to face the Hoosiers in Indiana. Bearcats, Desmond Ridder has been really one of the only consistent preseason Heisman contenders so far through 2 weeks, blowing out Miami, Ohio, and Murray State. Major uptick in competition here to Indiana under Tom Allen, getting blown out by Iowa week 1 and blowing out Idaho last week. So
I,
3.5 I thought was pretty small, but I think they can cover. Desmond Ritter has his a good game here against a good defense.
The only reason Cincinnati wins and the only reason I picked them was Desmond Ritter. But I actually think I easily see Indiana winning this game. I think Iowa's defense is that legit, if that makes sense. You've seen what they've done against Big Ten opponents. And so if they can – what I like about him is he can run and he can throw, if that makes sense. So that's why I like, okay, if you get in the backfield, Cincinnati still has a shot. I was torn on this one, but I've said this for the last 2 years on the podcast. You roll with the best players on the field, and I'm rolling with Desmond Ritter. But if they do get in the backfield and he turns it over, I think Indiana could win this by 2 scores.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and be the odd one out again here and just go with Indiana. Just basically because everyone else picked Cincinnati. And as you guys said, they do have a chance, you know. It's just whether or not they can execute in the long game.
Yeah, I just think the Bearcat defense is still really good. The running game of Desmond Ritter and Jerome Ford combined. Now, Tom Allen has a good defense as well for Indiana. That's really the only reason that it was only 34 points given up against Iowa, 14 of those being on pick sixes.
Yeah.
So
really, the key to this game is Penix.
Yeah. And Michael Penix, though, he's going to have a tough day against the Cincinnati defense, I think. So over-under is 50. Under, we already talked about it. Defenses, right, Chris?
Yeah.
12 p.m., ESPN.
I hate that. I hate that's an early game.
Well, it's weird. There's a lot of top 25, 12 p.m. games this week. I don't know why, but because there's 7 top 25, 12 o'clock games this week.
That's why when someone asked if I was tailgating, I said, I want to stay home and just watch football. Leave me alone.
Next one, number 15, Virginia Tech, 2-0, headed to Morgantown to face West Virginia, 1-1.
Yeah.
I was wholeheartedly surprised that the Mountaineers were favored, and I don't know why.
Well,
because Tech has been playing so well.
Is it because of North Carolina maybe not being as good as what people thought? Or is Virginia Tech really this good? It's an in-state rivalry. It's on the road. Virginia Tech's defense has kind of won them the games. It's not like their offense has won them the games. But I still am going with the Hokies. I'm just a little scared because they're on the road.
Mark, it's not an in-state rivalry.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
They're two different states, Mark.
They're border.
It's a cross-state rivalry.
Yeah, border states.
The Virginians.
Morgantown, Blacksburg, 2 different states. What I meant was border rivalry, but
yeah. I mean, Jarrett Deggy for WVU is pretty solid. Letty Brown as well. But I've been surprised. Braxton Burmeister at quarterback for the Hokies has been a pleasant surprise through 2 games. But their defense, dude, for Virginia Tech is legit.
It's legit.
17 points given up to 10 points given up to North Carolina, 14 points given up last week to Mid Tennessee. So I think that's really the factor. I think they give Jarrett Daggy some problems this week. I don't think West Virginia's offensive line is great. I think Maryland kind of showed people that that's an issue for them in a 30-24 loss at Maryland for West Virginia. But yeah, I think the Hokies can get this one and technically upset West Virginia in Morgantown.
All right, guys, I'm actually going to go with West Virginia here, just because they're the favored, and also one of my best friends is from West Virginia, so I've got to go with West Virginia here.
Nate is going to win every game that he went different. I'm telling you, mark my words, and I should get one extra win for saying this.
Dude, I love it because Nate is using reasoning that the likes of the guest pickers on College Game Day use, like personal connections to people and whatnot, going against the norm. Love it.
Expert opinions on both sides, and he goes, "Okay, I'll jump on that." But if West Virginia does win, Letty Brown will be the player of the game. Mark my words.
Yeah. So my pick'ems will be a little bit different for the NFL because I obviously watch NFL, and I'm an avid fan of the NFL. So they'll be completely different for the NFL.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with that because I'm a lot more knowledgeable about the NFL. So my picks are a lot better in the NFL. But yeah, for this one, I'm kind of surprised that the majority of us picked the underdog here, quote unquote underdog, because I was surprised when I was going through these picks that West Virginia was the favorite here because Virginia Tech has obviously had 2 solid games to start the season, and they are the ranked team here in this matchup. So I don't know. It was weird to see West Virginia be the favorite here, but I had to go with Virginia Tech.
I mean, Morgantown can get rocking. I do know that. But
it's an interesting
road.
Time.
Over under is 51. Again, I'm going under. Like I said, the Virginia Tech defense is too good, dude. Virginia Tech defense is the difference.
If it hits 51, I don't think they win.
Oh no. All right, 12 p.m. FS1. Go to the Chanticleers, number 16, Coastal Carolina on the road at Buffalo. 14 points for the Chants in this one. Love Grayson McCall. I took the 14 points this weekend.
Yeah, even though it's up in Buffalo, I think Coastal has this one in the bag. If this was a matchup last year, I think it would have been a little closer, but
yes,
I don't know. I just think that Buffalo lost too much this past season. Yeah, Coastal lost a couple of players too, but I just think Coastal overall is the much better team. And I think that, like you said, you took the 14, I would too. I think they win by at least 17.
Yeah, the losses of Jarrett Patterson at running back and Antonio Nunn at the wide receiver position. Kyle Van Treese has not been the same quarterback this year.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe that they can keep up offensively, which you guys both just stated, so I'm going to reiterate that. And I would say that an advantage for Buffalo would have been if you could play this game after Thanksgiving when the weather changes, because we all know Myrtle Beach is really a nice place to live almost year-round. But you're playing it third game of the season, definitely just give the nod to Coastal Carolina. I think they can cover by 2 touchdowns as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go with Coastal Carolina. Y'all, I think the matchup is just too strong here.
Chance, sweep the board. Over-under is 58. And again, I'm going to go under. I just don't know how much Buffalo can score on the Black Swarm defense.
I mean, is Buffalo better than Kansas? Or is Kansas better?
Buffalo's probably better, but again,
that was 58 last week, wasn't
they don't. Buffalo doesn't have a dual threat quarterback like Kansas did in Jason Bean. So
I'll go under with you. I'll go under.
Kyle Van Treese is not that mobile. And I think he's going to struggle against the Coastal pass rush there.
That makes sense.
12 p.m. ESPN 2. One of my favorite games this weekend. Michigan State at number 24, Miami. Miami coming off a massive 2-point win against Appalachian State. Michigan State 2-0 under Mel Tucker. They are coming off a win, a rout of Youngstown State this past weekend. And I love the Sparties in this one, dude. I am believing in what Mel Tucker is doing. And I think that they have gotten the right formula with Peyton Thorne at quarterback and Kenneth Walker at running back.
I obviously am partnered with you in this game plan, and I always try to, my picks are right there, so I always try to give the other side why maybe that's where I need to be a better podcast co-host. I can see why Chris picked it, but I went Michigan State because Mel Tucker has put defenses together in the SEC year after year. I think he knows what he's getting into traveling down to Miami, and I'm rolling with him. I like him. If he was still our DC at Georgia, I believe this year it would be a wash as a national champion. I'm just going to go out and say that. But he is at Michigan State.
That's all right. Just keep doubting the Canes, guys. I'll take those points all day.
Dude, they got destroyed by Alabama, and then they beat Appalachian State by 2 at home. That's not good enough.
I will tell you.
Hey, a win's a win. I
will tell you this. Since Chris said that, if they win, I will pick them next week, no matter who they play, and watch them lose.
Oh, that's not an option, Mark. They play Central Connecticut next week. That's not an option.
That's not fair. The minute I put them against a respectable opponent, that is always my luck.
Virginia in 2 weeks. Nate.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Michigan State here. 2-0. And, obviously, I watched the Alabama game, and Miami was embarrassed. And they barely got the job done last week. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with Michigan State here.
Yeah, I will continue to be a De'Aaron King non-believer. He will not be a good quarterback if some team drafts him next year. I am not a De'Aaron King fan.
Well, he'll probably go to a Philadelphia team. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he won't.
He'll be Big Ben's success.
Over under is 57.
I will laugh if he lands in Philadelphia.
And I feel like I'm picking unders like all of these games, but again, I'm going under 57. The game against Appalachian State only got the 48 last week. So, yeah, I would go under 47, under 57. 12 p.m. ABC.
These games.
Last 12 o'clock, top 25 game. Northern Illinois at number 25, Michigan. Now, it's like a resurgence of Michigan teams this year, dude. Michigan and Michigan State are both back in the or Michigan State's not in the top 25 until they beat Miami this week. Then they will be next week in the top 25. But, yeah, Michigan has had a resurgence in their first 2 weeks under Coach Harbaugh. And big win last week against Washington. NIU, heartbreaker in a shootout against Wyoming. Barely beating Georgia Tech week 1 by 1 point, which was a big deal, beating an ACC team. But, yeah, it's at the big house. No chance.
That's the reason I don't like 27.5 points. I do believe Michigan wins this game, but do you really think they win by that many?
No.
We talked about the transfer from Michigan State being at NIU as a quarterback. I mean, I think Michigan wins this, whether it's 14 or 21 or 24 points, or maybe right at 27. But wouldn't it be funny if something like this would be one of the games I wouldn't even be mad about, if that makes sense? Like, oh my gosh, we're all talking on Saturday and NIU beats Michigan. Well, then that could be another coach opening.
Depending on how this game plays out, how close it is, will determine how I pick Michigan's game next weekend. You know why? Because they play Rutgers.
Rutgers all the way in that one.
But yeah, and the thing about the 27.5 mark, they already did beat a MAC team by 33 in their opener. They beat Western Michigan by 33. So I don't. NIU is definitely better than Western Michigan, though. At least I think. But yeah, I do like the Huskies plus 27.5. I didn't pick that, but
Michigan wins this game, guys. I'm not saying that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised though, because until this year, Michigan under Harbaugh has not looked all that great. So I wouldn't be surprised if he slips up in this game.
What's ridiculous is that Cade McNamara only has 180 yards and 2 touchdowns through 2 games.
I wish I knew. Like, is anyone asked themselves, like, okay, he did really well at Stanford, he did really well at San Francisco. Michigan has all the money and the facilities. Like, what's the issue up there? I wish I could put my finger on it.
I don't know. But Nate, your pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Michigan as well. I think it's just too strong of a matchup again.
Alrighty, over under is 54. I'm gonna go over this one. I think NIU gets a couple scores on the board here.
I like it.
12 p.m. Big Ten Network.
All right, let's move off noon games.
Yes, sir. This is one of my favorite games of the weekend, dude. It is very close. Nevada at Kansas State.
I thought I picked Kansas State.
The Wolfpack, 1.5 points here. And you know me, dude. I absolutely love Carson Strong, dude. He is a beat. He is one of my potential sleepers to rise up in the pre-draft, to get into the first round. I think he has a shot of doing that with a relatively good season for Nevada this year. And now Kansas State, they have a new quarterback, Skylar Thompson, hurt. Will Howard, I believe is his last name, comes in for Skylar Thompson. I think that is a big detriment to the KSU offense. And I think Carson Strong and the Wolfpack can take advantage of that this one.
That's exactly why I went with Nevada. If Skylar was under center, I would have went with Kansas State 100%. I think their defense is capable of beating Nevada, but you have to have that. And he was considered the super senior because he already had a knee injury, and it's the second serious knee injury. And so I'm going with Nevada. The only thing that worries me is it's in Manhattan. I've been to game day in Manhattan, and it's a really fun atmosphere, and the defense is going to give it everything they can. But I'm on the train with you. If if he's going to be getting into the first round, then this is the game that he's got to ball out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Romeo Dobbs, Toa for Nevada. I will say, though, if I were Nevada, I would game plan we are stopping number 22 because Deuce Vaughn for the Wildcats is by far the biggest threat on the Kansas State offense. You have to stop Deuce Vaughn if you're going to stop the Kansas State offense. Go, Nate.
Kind of torn here, but I'm just gonna go with Kansas State. Just to be the oddball out again.
He's going to have better picks than us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Over under is 51. I think the bookmakers kind of learned their lesson after the first couple of weeks. There was a lot of games that we had that were in the 60s on the over under. Now they're all in the 50s, making it much more difficult to pick.
Circle every game that he went different. He's going to win them. He's going to win them.
So yeah, over under is 51 in this one. I don't have a play. I do have a play on this one though. It's Nevada month line.
If that happens, I'm going to punch you in the face, Nate.
2 p.m. Big 12 Network and ESPN Plus.
I want to be in your position, Nate. I just want to go different than everybody.
Purdue 2-0 Boilermakers at number 12 Notre Dame, also 2-0 after two close games that I don't think Notre Dame fans thought should have been close. Florida State, Toledo last week in South Bend, only winning by one score, I thought was a major red flag for this Notre Dame team. And now they're only 7-point favorites against Toledo, against Purdue, who I haven't necessarily paid attention to this year. Their two wins, 30-21 over Oregon State, who Oregon State has actually looked decent this season. And then a 49-0 win against Connecticut, UConn last week at UConn. So that doesn't tell us anything. I think the Oregon State game does, but I'm not so sure that Notre Dame won't roll in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, Notre Dame hasn't looked the best this season. They won two close games that, again, like you said, they probably should have won by a lot more than that. But yeah, obviously they're coming back into the normal schedule, unlike what they had last year. And they had that Cinderella season last year that whatever. But yeah, this year they're going back to their normal schedule. And I don't know, maybe like last year kind of affected them a little bit more than we think it did. I don't know what's going on with them this year, but obviously they have a new quarterback and all that. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Notre Dame wins this one, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's less than 7 points.
What I'm trying to figure out is the quarterback play, in my opinion, is actually better than last year, even though Mr. Ian Book was under center. But the running game, which was really good last year, has been subpar. And so I think they figure out I think they game plan a little bit better. It's a better opponent. I don't know what's going on. I'm still believing in Notre Dame. I think they could be a dark horse because the quarterback play, in my opinion, has been good. You dislocate a finger and you throw a touchdown pass. You look great against Florida State. And here's a funny fact that no one would probably mention is Purdue is going to be without their biggest asset that they ever go on the road with, and they have the biggest drum in the world. It's about 10 feet, 9 inches, and Notre Dame has redone their tunnels because of COVID and whatnot, and the Purdue band is not allowed to bring their big bass drum in for the first time since 1979. They're not going to be able to play it at halftime or bang it during a touchdown.
Dude, I would be like, all right, give me an extra $50,000 then, Notre Dame. Like,
look it up. It's kind of crazy. I saw it right before the show. It was kind of a funny thing.
But this game should be a quarterback evaluator's dream. Jack,
Mhm.
Jack Cohn. It's the Jack Show, really. It's Jack Cohn for Notre Dame versus Jack Plummer for Purdue, and both through 2 weeks have amazing stats. Jack Plummer, he's hitting 73.8%, 45 of 61, 558 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jack Cohn, 47 of 68. That's a 69.1% completion, 605 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Neither team has run the ball very well. Kyron Williams only has 120 yards through 2 games. Xander Horvath is the leading rusher, 22 carries, 89 yards. He actually is done for the year, though, broken fibula. So it'll be on Jack Plummer's shoulders. My thing for Notre Dame this year, their defense came into this season highly touted. I think Kyle Hamilton has been so for Notre Dame, the star safety, but the rest of the defense has not done it very well. And if it gets into a shootout, I wouldn't have an issue seeing Purdue win it outright.
If they were to win this, I think Purdue was picked last in the Big Ten this year, or second to last. If they win this, I think they could be, could they be a 6th best team?
They've done it before. They did it. What was it? 3 years ago.
Yeah.
At Ohio State. Or no, it wasn't at Ohio State. It was in Purdue, but they beat like the number 3 team, Ohio State, at the time. In a beatdown fashion, not even close.
I remember this. He could be a hot seat coach if he wins this game, meaning he could be hired somewhere else.
Nate,
I'm going with Notre Dame here.
all right, over under is 58. I'm going over. It's a shootout.
I think Drew Brees will be cheering for one team over the other. A lot of people forget where he played college football.
Yep.
2:30 NBC.
I've been asked that many times. Where did Drew Brees play college football? Really?
All right, SEC on CBS. Number 1, Alabama, heading to Gainesville to face number 11, Florida.
Ask Nate.
14.5-point favorites. And I like it. I like the 14.5. They'll cover. And they'll roll Florida in Gainesville in the swamp.
Nate, who you got, buddy?
I got Alabama, but I just want to let it be known. I hate Alabama with a passion. I hate them more than anything else.
Man, out of all these ball games, you're not going to pick Florida.
Out of all the ball games, Alabama's too good. I'm sorry. They're too good.
Well, you know what? I'm going to piggyback off on that. I could care less if this is the worst team that Nick Saban thinks he's had in 5 years. They're way too talented to lose this ball game. I don't care if it's a field goal. What I'm saying is they win this ball game. Does that make sense? They would have to turn the ball over 8 million times to lose this game.
Like I said, I like the 14.5. I think Bama rolls Florida. They've done it to Florida before, and they'll do it again. I think the defense, Emory Jones, we've seen, he's not that good. He can run the ball, but when they get down and they're going to have to throw the ball, it's going to become a fact that they're going to have to throw the ball, whether that's Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson, who we all seem to think is better than Emory Jones at passing the ball specifically. I don't think either one can pass the ball efficiently enough against the Alabama defense. And they don't have enough receivers, enough quality at the receiver position to beat the Alabama defense either. So,
yeah.
Over under is 60, and that's tough. But I think it goes over. I think, like I said, Bama rolls, but I still think Florida's going to score maybe twice. 42-14. I like that. That sounds good to me. It's that bad. I do think. Even though I know people. I've said teams are going to roll before, and they haven't. Like I said about Ohio State rolling Oregon last weekend. That didn't work out, but anyways, 3:30 p.m. on CBS. Like I said, first week of SEC on CBS again. I think so, right? All right, Kent State at number 5, Iowa. Buckeyes getting 22.5 here. And yeah, it's going to be that bad, unfortunately, Kent State. How many pick sixes? One? I think one. I think they get one.
I'd say one. Maybe two, but most likely just one.
And it's going to be Mr. Moss again. Mr. Moss is going to get another pick six. Riley Moss.
These pick standings aren't going to be very interesting next week because there's a lot of games where across the board all picking the same thing, except for Nate. He keeps going against us, but
no, I'm going with Iowa here. This is a clear cut game. Kent State, there's not a big enough school. They don't have the talent, the recruiting that Iowa has. So I don't think this is going to be. I think Iowa's got this in the bag.
Agreed.
Hey man, Kent State's coming off a beatdown of VMI though, 60-10. I do love the quarterback at Kent State though, Dustin Crum, super senior as well. He is also a sleeper in next year's draft. I think has some good talent, but there's not enough around him, unfortunately, for him. So. Mark, I was surprised you actually didn't say anything during a game.
Iowa's defense is that good. I don't need to say anything.
Over under is 57. What do we think, Chris?
57. I don't know. I think that's right around where it's going to be. So it's going to be hard. Is it going to be 56? Is it going to be 60? I don't know. I think it's close to that number though.
3:30, Big Ten Network. ACC matchup, Georgia Tech at number 6, Clemson. Tigers getting 28. I think Tech covers. even with what Clemson's supposed to be, they routed South Carolina State last weekend 49-3, but we know how that's supposed to go. And Georgia Tech, they routed Kennesaw State 45-17. So neither team coming in playing anyone last weekend. So
who was Georgia Tech's first game against though?
They lost by 1 point to NIU, Northern Illinois.
And then obviously Clemson lost to
Georgia.
Your boys. Yeah.
10-3. Yeah.
10-3. Yeah, I mean, obviously Clemson is the clear winner here, but I picked them to lose against Georgia, and obviously that happened. I am not a big believer in Clemson this year. So yeah, like you said, I can see Georgia Tech covering the 28, but I really don't see them winning this game. So I could see them losing by 3 touchdowns.
I think the biggest factor that makes Tech not cover though would be that it's at Clemson and not in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Clemson here. I think Clemson's defense is too good. I don't think Georgia Tech can score enough to actually beat Clemson.
There's an old saying, there's elite teams, great teams, good teams, and everybody else. And I do love Georgia Tech's new head coach, but they are not elite. And I don't care if it's a down year in people's opinion for Clemson not making the college football playoff, or if they do and they lose another game like they did last year. Clemson is too good to lose to Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Over under is 52. It's a good one. I like it.
I can see it getting there.
I don't think it will because I think, to Nate's point, Clemson's defense is too good. They won't allow Georgia Tech to score as much. But I also said Tech's going to cover, so that's the conundrum. 3:30 ABC. Tulsa at number 9, Ohio State. Buckeyes getting 25 at the shoe. And yeah, it's not going to be pretty. I think Ohio State's going to cut pissed off from last weekend, and the Golden Hurricanes are going to be the unfortunate bearers of that anger.
Yeah, we know what players in the NFL leaving Tulsa, and they are. I'm more talking about how Tulsa is nowhere near the team they were last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's going to show on the road.
Yeah. Lost to UC Davis to open the season by 2 points. And then a surprise last week, though, only losing by 5 on the road at Oklahoma State. So, yeah. Ohio State lost to Oregon. And beat Minnesota. So, Nate?
I'm going with Ohio State here. Kind of the same reasoning as I forget which game it was, but like a few picks back, I said essentially like that one team was too much of a powerhouse. Ohio is too much of a powerhouse to lose to a team like Tulsa. It's just not going to happen. So.
Over under is we actually have a 60s one here. 61. I don't think so.
No.
Tulsa might not score. Granted, Ohio State's defense sucks. So maybe Tulsa does score and it goes over. I think Ohio State, though, will probably score in the upper 40s to low 50s.
Mm-hmm.
3:30 FS1. Georgia Southern at number 20, Arkansas, ranked for the first time this week after their blowout of Texas, number 15 Texas, last week. And Southern, their 2 games, a 5-point win against Gardner-Webb and then a blowout loss to FAU. The Hogs, like I said, against Texas, and they also blew out Rice as well. Sam Pittman looks like he's got it turned around at Arkansas so far, and getting 20.5 here, I think the Hogs can get it done pretty easily.
I'm gonna go with the Hogs as well. Just too big of a difference in the teams here. So
yeah, Mark, what has happened to Southern, dude? They even like last year they were one of the higher teams in the Sun Belt.
You know, it's hard to at that level to have talent year in and year out the way that Georgia has, if that makes sense. And so graduated some people, and I think that's the big difference. And you're not going to be what I remember then from last year, and Alex was more, in tune with them, is you're not going to be able to run the ball on Arkansas or any SEC team that you can run the ball with on someone that is like your talent spectrum, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right, over under back to a lower one, 53. No, I don't even. I'm not actually sure that Arkansas covers either. I think it could be a lower scoring, a blowout still, but a lower scoring one. So I don't know about 53. 4 p.m. SEC Network. Non-ranked game here. Mississippi State 2-0 at Memphis 2-0 as well. The Bulldogs getting 3.5 on the road, and Chris is lone wolfing the Bulldogs unless Nate goes with him.
I'm
let's let Nate do it. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with Memphis because I was born there. So
there you go.
All right, so I'm still a lone wolf here for Mississippi State, but yeah, I picked them. I mean, they are the road team and all that, but they are the slight favorite there. They are undefeated. So is Memphis, but I don't know. I mainly picked them because they are the favorite. And also, I have a slight sentiment towards Mississippi State because when I was in Little League baseball, I was the Mississippi State Bulldogs one year. So, yeah, go Bulldogs.
Probably suck.
But, yeah, it's just another point for me, I guess.
Look, dude, ESPN projector, this is literally almost a 50-50 split. The thing that I love about Memphis is in their 2 games, they have scored a hell of a lot of points. And so that means they're prepared to go against a Mississippi State type offense. They can score with them. And Mississippi State has only scored 35 and 24 in their 2 wins. Memphis 42 and 55 in their 2 wins.
I'll be honest. This was maybe the hardest game to pick, or one of the most intriguing games to pick. And I lost some games to Chris last week, so this was one of those I circled and said I got to go different against him. And I think Mississippi State is capable of winning this. Anytime you play Mike Leach, I don't care if you're playing Alabama or University of my backyard, not to make fun of anybody. He can win or lose a game. What I like about Memphis is they score a lot and they haven't turned it over a lot. And as long as they don't turn it over, I think they can beat Mississippi State at home. I think it's a great program. Going from, wasn't Mike Norvell there? And he's now moved on. You have D'Angelo Williams that has been there and had a great NFL career. So Memphis, in my opinion, is an unheralded, non-Power 5, supposedly, university.
What's crazy about this game, the Memphis team specifically, quarterback Seth Hennigan and running back Brandon Thomas on ESPN, both listed as freshmen. And they are putting up video game numbers in either their true freshman or redshirt freshman year, whichever it is for them. So, yeah, I love them. I think Tigers can get it done on the road or at home. And, Chris, you love Mississippi State so much, but you didn't pick them last week against NC State.
Yeah, well, I actually thought NC State was going to win. I'm not that sentimental with Mississippi State. I just picked them this week because of that.
If you get the first week's Mississippi State, they lose this game. I actually think if you get last week's, they win this game. They actually looked decent on defense last week.
Over under 64 for a lot of points being scored, I'm hitting the over button.
Yeah.
4 p.m. ESPN 2. Go Dogs, baby.
Go Dogs.
South Carolina is 2-0 at number 2. Georgia also 2-0. The Georgia defense has given up 1.5 points per game. Despite that 7 points last week against UAB, but that was the offense giving the defense 7 points. So I don't attribute that to the Georgia defense. They've only given up 3 points this season in 2 games. I don't know how South Carolina's 2-0, but I know Mark's going to tell me.
Well, it could be their opponents. And I actually think Shane Beamer is a pretty good coach. I will say this about Shane Beamer. There's a lot of guys that get into coaching because they're dads and don't learn anything. I think he learned a lot from his dad. I don't necessarily like the 31.5 points. I know we are going to win, and it's because it's 7 o'clock at night. We are really good at night games. If this was another noon game, which was derailed us, South Carolina did.
Don't bring it up, Mark. I don't want to relive that crap.
This is a 7 o'clock game. I think we win by 24 points. And I'm just leaving it at that.
Yeah, South Carolina's 2 wins, 46-0 over Eastern Illinois, and a 20-17 comeback win at East Carolina last weekend.
East Carolina's getting better, but they are not anywhere near an SEC team.
Yeah, the 31.5, I was shocked by that line. For an SEC versus SEC matchup, I don't think I've ever seen something like that type of a line in an SEC game.
That's attributed to our defense, and I do think, I hate to say that, I don't want to say this because they've tripped us. I think South Carolina will be the bottom of – they're going to fight with Tennessee for last place in the SEC. And Tennessee might beat them this year.
Nate?
Well, we obviously got to go with UGA here. Clear favorites. UGA's defense is way too good, and offense is just way too good. So, got to go with the boys. Also, UGA is winning the Natty this year, last year in grad school, so they got to do it here.
If they win it, I will come down.
They're winning it. You heard it here on FFA podcast.
I sure hope so.
Okay, over-under is the lowest of all the college games we have, which is ridiculous for a 31.5 point spread. The over-under is 48.
So, well, I'm not kidding. Oh, Allah.
Like, I just don't understand how that could possibly work, that you could hit an under and still cover.
Look,
unless they hold them to 0 points. The only way.
If JT Daniels plays, I can see that.
Under and cover. All right. We'll see.
But I'm not sure he plays. And if he does, he's not going to play more than 2 quarters.
7 p.m. ESPN. All right, cupcake matchup here. Stony Brook at number 4, Oregon. I had to search around for this line on the internet. It was very difficult to find. FCS versus FBS lines always are. The Seawolves, as they are known, coming into this one. Let me get to this game here. Oh, it's actually 40 points on ESPN. 27-21 loss to New Hampshire, and then a 24-3 win over Colgate. Obviously, we know what Oregon did last weekend at Ohio State. Also, their close week 1 win over Fresno State. So 40 points for the Ducks at home in Eugene.
Yeah, Oregon's winning this one here. So just clear cut powerhouse team versus a nobody. So
Does Stony Brook cover?
No.
Good question. I don't think so.
Depends on if they take if the Ducks take their foot off in the first half.
no shot.
Over under is again, it's another weird thing. The spread is 40 and the over under is 52 and a half. So yeah, that's a fun thing to do. 7:30 Pac-12 Network. Okay, let's get to the college game day game this week. This is the most excited I have been for a Penn State game in quite some time.
Is this the Penn State and Auburn game?
Oh my goodness.
To Auburn at number 10 Penn State. It is a whiteout in Happy Valley this weekend. Wish I could be there. It is going to be electric. They play amazing in whiteout games.
Fucker got a shirt on. I just said a cuss word, so FYI.
We have an agreement. Nate and I are going to Instagram live the entire game from the FAA podcast Instagram account. So that's going to be a fun time as well. We're going to be talking during the game about the game. So Nittany Lions get it done, though. The defense is too good. It is a championship level defense that they have at Penn State. The offense is explosive as well with the receivers they have. And I don't think Auburn's defense is as good as Penn State, and they won't be able to hold up against the explosion at the receiver position.
All right, guys, I'm clearly going with Auburn here. I think Bo Nix is something special. I think this year he's got a chance to everyone always thinks Auburn is not that good, but year after year we prove that we can take down big teams. Year after year we take down teams where the clear favorite. Like there have been games when we've taken down Alabama, taken down UGA. So I'm hopeful for Bo Nix.
Bo Nix never played in a whiteout game though.
Okay.
I was worried that Auburn would be actually the toughest test of UGA's schedule. And then I said, oh my gosh, they go to Penn State. And the whiteout is something special. It is, I haven't been there, but I've heard of it from firsthand. I've heard of it from David Pollock, that it is something special. And then I looked at Bo Nix's road stats, and that's actually where he's really not good. He's really good at home. He's really awful on the road. And I think that will be one of the issues. And so I picked Penn State because they played against Wisconsin already. Who did they play against last week, Rusty?
It was Ball State.
A little bit better than the last two opponents that Auburn's faced nobody, but I was really scared that they scored 60 and 62. And so I'm going with Penn State because it's a real defense.
Yeah, Akron and Alabama State are the two teams that Auburn has played.
If your quarterback has even a decent game, I think they win this. The whiteout put me over it and Bo Nix's road statistics. Because I've always been a Bo Nix fan, and then I go, why am I not a Bo Nix fan? And it's like he does some things that you scratch your head, and I was like, oh, well, he's not in the confines at Auburn.
Yeah, my favorite whiteout memory will still forever be 2016. Penn State blocks the field goal and returns it for a touchdown to win the game against Ohio State. It was just Amazing. I will never forget that game. Over under is 53. There's no chance. No chance with the Penn State defense that game gets over 53 points. And if it does, Auburn probably wins. 7:30 ABC. ACC matchup, Virginia at number 21, North Carolina. And Mark is a lone wolfer in this one, taking the Cavaliers on the road. 8-point underdogs against the Tar Heels.
I'm going to go ahead and go with Mark here. I just don't think North Carolina this year is that impressive. And I think Virginia can definitely take them down.
Well, you guys always know I usually go against my teams, and I'm a UGA and Carolina fan when it comes to big games. The reason I took Virginia is, one, Rashad Mendenhall is a really good coach, guys. Like, underrated.
Bronco Mendenhall.
Sorry, running back and my bad. I think he's a really good coach. And their defense has put up similar numbers as Virginia Tech. And I think Sam Howell is missing his two running backs and the two receivers that he's missed. And I'm not so sure that he can make up for it by himself. And so that's why I went with Virginia. But I'll be totally happy if North Carolina wins this game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, obviously I said at the beginning of the season I'm going to ride with UNC the whole time because my cousin is a freshman there. But no, I actually think that they have a solid chance of winning this one. They're obviously the 8-point favorites. They're playing at home. And, yeah, like you said, Mark, they're missing all of those players from last year. But I believe in the Tar Heels for this one.
Yeah, Virginia 43-0 over William and Mary and a 42-14 beatdown of Illinois last weekend. Obviously, we know Virginia Tech took down UNC week 1. Then they got revenge, beating down Georgia State 59-17. And
Georgia State's not good.
Last year, Virginia beat them 44-41.
It'll be high scoring.
But, also Virginia has lost 22 out of the last 30 road games under Bronco Mendenhall. So that's an issue. And, I think Carolina can do it. Sam Howell's, like he is going to have to all season, is going to have to do it by himself. But I don't think Virginia is that strong of a team that he won't be able to do that. And he does have one receiver, though. He does have Josh Downs, who is his guy. And he's going to get double teamed a lot, but Sam's just going to have to throw it to him anyways. So
This is going to be a fun game, in my opinion.
Over under high. It's a high. 67. Last year was 44-41. So
100%. I think whoever wins is the first one to, like last year, whoever reaches 44 or 45 wins this game. First one.
7:30 ACC Network. That's also why I like Carolina. It's a night game.
They're better at night games. I didn't take that into consideration.
This is also one of my other favorite non-ranked matchups. Utah State at Air Force. And Mark, on your picks, I think it said roll with me, but I know you had made the pact with Chris early in the season that you were picking all military. So I made the pick for you of Air Force.
Military, I think of the Army and Navy and Marine Corps. The Air Force are such titty babies. They
Air
complain
Force
about,
is better than Navy, though, aren't they?
yeah, I got to have this and I have to have this. And oh my gosh, we're going to war. And I'm just kidding.
Air Force is the second best military school, though. That's for sure. In terms of football,
100%. The Navy is lacking this year.
Nate, before I go off my lone wolf speech, are you with the Air Force?
Yeah, I'm with the Air Force here. Got to get roll with the military here.
Your quarterback's going to win this game. Just going to tell you guys.
That is exactly my sentiment. Logan Bonner has played out of his mind so far this season. I was shocked when they annihilated North Dakota. Granted, that was at Utah State. So this is on the road at Air Force. But I just think the Utah State defense, and the thing is, Utah State, if they ever get started in a game in the first quarter, they're going to destroy people because they haven't started well in either of their two games. But somewhere in the second quarter, they usually start figuring it out, and then they roll. I mean, it's ridiculous, really. Like they did against North Dakota last week. They had a massive comeback win over Washington State week 1. And, yeah, I believe in Logan Bonner. This is another one that ESPN predicts it almost exactly 50-50. Air Force really hasn't played anyone. They beat Lafayette 35-14, and they destroyed Navy last week 23-3, which we have already established Navy is not very good this year. So
Navy has taken so many steps behind from when I was in the Navy. I hate to say that. Like, I watched them beat East Carolina when Ruffin McNeil was there, 56-3. And so I did say roll with you because of the quarterback situation. I really do think Utah State wins this game. But I did say I'm rolling with my man and the academies this year. I'm not rolling with Campbell, but I'm rolling with the academy.
I don't know if I might be jumping off the Campbell train if we ever have them again. But yeah, Air Force, like you guys both have said, I have the whole I always pick the military schools, but this one, they're a favorite by more than a touchdown here. 9.5-point favorite right here. And yeah, it's at Air Force. And yeah, I just think all signs are pointing to them going away with the W after the game. So yeah, I like Air Force in this one.
what I will say for Air Force is that they have an electric quarterback, Zeke Daniels, and a legit bruiser at running back in Brad Roberts. Not running back, he's their fullback. Just like I'm blanking on the guy's name that we talked about for Army last week. The big 6'1", 260-pound dude. If I can find the Army game this weekend, oh, there it is. I can tell you who that is. Of course, it doesn't say because he's not their leading rusher, but that's cool. The guy I'm talking about is Tyrell Robinson, that dude for Army. Exactly the equivalent that Brad Roberts is to Air Force. So those guys I do really like for Air Force. But going with Utah State, love the Aggies on the road. And it's actually down to 9 now, Chris.
Still more than a touchdown.
Topped off half a point. All right. Over-under is 54.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's getting a little bit too late for me. I'm going to go ahead and hop off here.
See you, Nate.
See you guys.
Okay. Over-under is 54. I like the over. Utah State can score. Hopefully, we'll have to see how many possessions they get, though. with the triple from Air Force. 7:30 FS2. Tulane at number 17, Ole Miss. The Rebels getting 14 here. And we know Tulane can play with anyone. We've seen it. They played with Oklahoma. I am just saying the Green Wave do not go down very easily. And they're if my phone would like to load, I could see what their game was last weekend. Yeah, 69-20 destruction of Morgan State in Birmingham. And Ole Miss, we know they rolled Louisville week 1. They annihilated Austin Peay last week. First real test for Matt Corral this season. Nothing against Louisville, but Tulane has a legit defense.
Yeah.
Do we think Tulane covers?
I was going to say, I think Ole Miss has this one, but I don't think they win by 2 touchdowns. Like you said, Tulane is a tough opponent, and they make it difficult for whoever their opponent is. You mentioned the Oklahoma game. Yeah, I just think Ole Miss is a better team, and they're going to come out on top. But again, I don't think it's going to be by 2 touchdowns. I think the most it'll be is 10 points.
Ole Miss has been more of a surprise team to me. I think they've been better on defense than what I thought, and we already know that they've scored last season and they can score this season. It goes back to week 1, right? Like Spencer Rattler being a Heisman Trophy candidate, and our beloved quarterback at Ole Miss, who I do agree with Rusty is another candidate for Heisman. Does Tulane make him look more simpler, or does he look like a Heisman Trophy candidate? Either way, they win, but that determines if they win by 14, 21, or 3.
Yeah, I was thinking about putting this under in the parlay this weekend, the weekly Rusty Hail Mary college parlay. It's only 7 legs this week instead of 8 like last weekend, so we'll see.
All right.
It starts tonight with the under 61 in the Maryland game. But yeah. Over under is 77.
Ooh.
And the crazy thing is they were 1 touchdown away from getting just under the number in their week 1 matchup against Louisville. So I don't know how much Tulane is going to score, or how much they can score. We saw they scored 35 against Oklahoma. So I am not counting it out, and I would recommend under because 77 is just ridiculous. But again, with an Ole Miss team, you never know. They can score in the blink of an eye. So,
yeah, but like I said, I think this is going to be a closer game than people think, and I don't think it's going to be that high scoring. So I think it'll be under. I think they're going to score somewhere in the 50s.
Well, if we get an exact Oklahoma score, which was 40-35, that still gets you 2 points under at 75 points.
Mm-hmm.
8 p.m. ESPN2. Ranked matchup here, number 19, Arizona State at number 23, BYU. Sun Devils getting 4. I'm kind of surprised Chris didn't pick them, but the Cougars.
Well, I went with BYU because I thought you guys were going to pick Arizona State. I thought I was going to lone wolf this one, but I mean, yeah.
Look, this is the first time that they are meeting since 1998. And I kind of talked to Mark about this, I believe. I don't remember if I did or not, but being in Provo, specifically in Provo at night, is something special. And I think the crowd and the fans are what win it for BYU.
I forget if I asked this last week or whatever, or I can't remember, but who's their new quarterback?
Who, BYU? Jaron Hall.
Yeah. I
Jaron
mean,
Hall.
I don't know much about him, but obviously Zach Wilson last year for BYU he had one of the best seasons for any quarterback pretty much. And obviously transitioning from somebody like that to a new quarterback, that's going to be tough, but I still think that BYU can do it. I mean, you mentioned it's a night game at home for BYU. And yeah, Arizona State's a good team. They're also undefeated 2-0, and they are the favorite. But I don't know. I like BYU at home.
Well, BYU returned a lot, even without Zach Wilson. Tyler Algier's still there. Neil Pau'u's still there. Puka Nasua at receiver as well. Their defense is still just as good. And I think Jaden Daniels still has a lot to prove at Arizona State, and I don't think he has done that yet. I mean, they played Southern Utah and UNLV their first 2 weeks. Nothing to behold there. BYU played a close one in Vegas against Arizona week 1. And I'm trying to load up.
That's what,
and then they upset Utah last weekend at Utah. So
I think the one thing that's worried me in this game and shifted me
at BYU. Never mind. Sorry.
I heard you, but is McDaniels. You know, like we see all these guys that are supposed to be Heisman. He hasn't lived up to it at all against lesser teams, and then you go into a hostile environment at nighttime where they're really good, and I jumped on the BYU train.
Over-under for this one is 51. I think it goes over. I think it's a high-scoring affair. I really do. I think both teams are going to be able to score a lot. 10:15 ESPN. Couple of late games here. 3 of them, to be exact, after 10 o'clock. Pac-12 after dark, right? Even though one of them's not a Pac-12 team. This next one is the one. Number 14, Iowa State. 32.5-point favorites heading to Vegas to play UNLV. And, yeah, not pretty. Just like the Ohio State game, I think Iowa State comes in royally pissed off after losing for a 5th time in a row to Iowa. And the Rebels of UNLV are going to just get annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
If Breece Hall doesn't have 200 yards in this game, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an ugly game for UNLV. I think on both sides of the ball. I think, like you said, Breece Hall, who I think is my underdog dark horse candidate for Heisman. Like, I think he has the best chance of being the best non-quarterback. But yeah, I think that they blow them out. I think they cover. I think everything is going in favor of Iowa State here.
Yeah, and Iowa State has to have the offense in this one. They've only scored 16 and 17 points in their 2 games so far. They have to get their offense right in this game because they got to go to Baylor next weekend. So this is a get right game for Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, and the offense.
100% hit it, and I back you on that. It has to be a get right game.
Over under is 52. Let's hit the over button. Iowa State big. 10:30 CBS Sportsnet. Final college game, FBS game anyways. Fresno State at number 13 UCLA. The Bruins getting 11 at home, and I was very close to picking the Dogs. I hate picking UCLA so much because they screwed me over 2 weeks in a row with Hawaii and then again with LSU. But as well as Fresno State has played, specifically against Oregon, their other two games against UConn and Cal Poly have been blowouts. I think that the running game for UCLA is going to be too much. Zach Charbonnet and Britton Brown, those two guys are the reason that UCLA is going to win. Not DTR, because Dorian Thompson-Robinson still sucks. But UCLA's found a ground game, and I think that's how they're going to win. So.
I wouldn't venture off farther than that to say I agree 100% with what you just said. This was a hard pick because do you believe in UCLA being a top-notch team, or have they just beat down certain opponents? But I do think Chip Kelly has got this boat in the right direction.
I just get annoyed that they have so many home games, and it's like, dude, actually play a hard game on the road for once, dude. But I will be happy when the Fresno State Bulldogs upset number 13 UCLA at the Rose Bowl. Over under is 63. And it's going to go over. Jake Hayner and Ronnie Rivers will go into the Rose Bowl and beat UCLA. 10:45 p.m. Pac-12. I will most likely be up for this game to watch Fresno State win. All right, second week here, FCS Game of the Week. We had two ranked matchups to pick from. The other one being, let me get the FCS rankings here, unless Chris knows them off the top of his head.
I don't know them off the top of my head. I was just
number 2 and number 9.
It is the other game that we could have picked here was number 12 Villanova against number 21 Richmond. I believe that was the matchup, right, Chris?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was at Villanova. So number 21 Richmond at number 9 Villanova was the other one, or number 12 Villanova was the other one we were thinking of. Both of those teams are 2-0, but I decided to pick the higher ranked matchup here. Number 3 JMU on the road at number 9 Weber State. Mark, where is Weber State? If you know,
Utah, baby.
All right.
Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard, point guard for Portland Trailblazers, is the best and most known alumni of Weber State.
Yeah, I just think JMU. We know JMU is year in and year out a championship contender in the FBS. They're still rolling out there. Cole Johnson at quarterback and Antoine Wells at wide receiver. Weber State, however, is still rolling out Bronson Barron at quarterback and Justin Malone at tight end. So Duke's win it, though, across the board.
Yeah, we all know my feelings towards Weber State. I constantly trashed them all season in the spring and didn't understand why they were ranked, number 4 for majority of the season. And obviously JMU last year, they were number 1, right? And then they were number 2 in the playoff or whatever.
Yeah, I think they dropped to like number 3 in the playoff bracket or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But throughout the season, they were number 1 last year, and right now they're number 3 for this season. But yeah, I am totally against Weber State, and like I said, JMU is one of the best FCS teams in the country, so there's no reason they shouldn't win this game.
Well, at least Weber has played an FCS team, though. That is their one loss. And if my freaking service would like to pull it up, I could tell you where they lost to last week, because I do know last week was their FCS loss. JMU, their 2 wins, 68-10 over Morehead State and 55-7 over Maine. So they've scored some points this season. Weber State, last week was not their FCS. They got blown out by a ranked Utah team week 1, 40-17. And then they blew out Dixie State 41-3 last week at Dixie State.
Dixie State, oh my gosh, another Utah first generation Division I team.
So yeah, JMU might run away with this. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any lines. They weren't putting them out right now anyways for the FCS games. So we will have a line, I think, on Monday. I think we had a line for that Central Arkansas game when we recapped it. But
before we go, though, Weber State was the team that made Chris mad last year, because they went like 5-1 or 4-0 against teams that were not good but were good, and they won a total of 4 ranked FCS games combined by 4 points. And last year he goes, they're bound to lose. They are bound to lose if they keep playing like this.
Love the spring football.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot to say this before when we were on the college pick standings. The games that made the difference in the standings last week for college were the Army Western Kentucky, where I was a lone wolf, the Wyoming Northern Illinois, where Chris was a lone wolf, App State versus Miami, Chris was also a lone wolf, and then the FCS game where Chris again was a lone wolf, and Mark and I got him back on that one.
We were about 500 last week, almost, give or take.
So let's get to NFL pick standings here. Mark,
are you kidding me? I'm in the lead. Oh my gosh! Thank you, Arizona Cardinals. Thank you, Arizona Cardinals.
I went 8-6. Chris 500 at 7-7.
I didn't have a good week.
The games that mattered for this one: Chris lone wolfing the Jets against the Panthers. Mark lone wolfing the Cardinals in a win against the Titans. Chris again lone wolfing the Chargers, winning against the Washington, and then Chris lone wolfing the Patriots in a loss to the Dolphins. So
yeah, that's 1 and 2 for me right there.
No, I thought we picked the Chargers and he picked Washington.
No, I picked Chargers.
No. Yeah, he picked the Chargers.
I swore I had the Chargers in that game. Dang.
Nope.
All right.
Yeah, I had them as my dog too.
Lone wolf and the birds, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. Got this guy up here. Yes, sir. All right. Look, Jalen Hurts was fantastic last week. And I know everyone will say, well, it was the Falcons. It don't matter. The Eagles are at home. They're at the Link. They're going to get it done. The defensive line is going to play well once again like they did last week. And having 2 rookie running backs for the Niners, I think, is going to be an issue when they go up against the Eagles' defensive line.
I won't lie. I said I was mixed between this game, and I'm going to roll with Chris because I thought maybe either that puts us 3 across the board or we go against you. I'm not opposed. I'm not against the hype that was last week. I could care less if it was the Falcons. I really enjoyed seeing some of the things that the Eagles did. I agree that, you have an established coach. You have George Kittle. You have, in my opinion, two capable quarterbacks, whether one goes down or not, in a rookie and Garoppolo. The only thing that scares me is it's on the road, but I think the 49ers have, if they can overcome injuries, are the same team that lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I picked the 49ers simply because they were the favorite in this one.
Well,
obviously, yeah. Obviously, the Eagles had an amazing game last week. I'm hesitant about it though because, like we said, it was against the Falcons, and yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to say that the Eagles are legit yet, which is why I'm going with the 49ers.
But the Niners played the Lions.
No, I know, but the 49ers were already the better team, though. That's why I'm saying that the 49ers were already coming into the season as the better team, quote unquote, or the better projected team, I should say. So I'm just not ready to crown the Eagles as a good team yet. This is a good test for them, though, and I would not be surprised if they come away with the win on Sunday, but I couldn't pick them this week.
Two other things.
Go ahead.
Mark, go, Mark.
Here's the one thing that I'm going to say about, not specifically the Eagles. Here's what I'm going to say about Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts has if he stays with the Eagles, he has a 6, 7, 8-year career. I don't think he fits anything that anyone else is doing. But I do like your first-year coach. I loved what I saw on Sunday, and I think that you guys could win this division this year or come second to Dallas.
I just wanted to piggyback off what Mark just said. There's one other team I could think of that Jalen Hurts would fit on, and Rusty would hate it, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. No. I think he's a better version of Lamar Jackson.
No, he would have to be a backup. I still think Lamar's better.
Two last things on this game. One, the Eagles beat them last year in San Francisco.
They did.
Two, the second half collapse against the Lions and Mark's favorite quarterback, Jared Goff, is just ups my belief that the Eagles will win this game.
I was worried about that, but I think they just didn't give 2 Fs.
Good restraint, Mark. Good restraint.
But I actually believe in Jalen Hurts being Philadelphia quarterback.
I believe in him too because he's my freaking fantasy starter.
If you look at movies that we've seen,
over-under is 50. I hate NFL over-unders. They're so tough.
I don't think it's getting
over-unders. Spreads and over-unders for NFL are ridiculous, dude.
I like straight-ups in the NFL better than NCAA, so the over-under, I
don't think there's going to be 7 touchdowns scored in this game.
True story. I agree. Eagles defense too good. 1 p.m.
We've talked about it. You know what the one matchup of this game is? The key matchup.
Nick Bosa versus Jordan Mailata.
100% just nailed it. That is going to be the difference in the game. Does he live up to the contract? Does he live up to his defensive name? To me, that will decide the game. Throw everything out the window, and that matchup is marquee.
Mark, you didn't think I'd get it, did you?
No, I knew you would because and you know more about football. But that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at that and saying, let's watch this Sunday.
Well, another good, relatively good pass rusher, I guess, if you want to call him that. I mean, he should have been defensive player of the year last year. He's Mark's defensive player this year. Had a fantastic week 1 game against the Buffalo Bills in a win, an upset win in Buffalo. It's Mr. TJ Watt at home against the 1-0 Raiders. This the shocker of week 1 that the Raiders beat Baltimore. But it was at home. It's not like it was in Baltimore. They did have what do they call it? Allegiant Stadium rocking there. But this is the Steelers' home opener. Heinz Field will be rocking for sure. And the Raiders lost Denzel Good, one of their best linemen inside.
Yeah.
And we just saw what Cameron Hayward did to the Buffalo Bills offensive line last week inside. Alex Leatherwood, the second-year offensive tackle, also struggled against the Ravens. I'm just saying that the Steelers defense, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Melvin Ingram, field day.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I thought about picking the Raiders as an upset here, but then all the things you said, they were at home last week. They're in Pittsburgh for the home opener after a year hiatus, essentially. Even though Pittsburgh did have fans last year, didn't they, or no?
Late in the season, yeah.
But now it's more open than it was last year. So people are excited to go to the game. And, yeah, I'm kind of like I said with the Eagles, I'm not 100% ready to crown the Raiders as a good team yet. And the Steelers, we all know, are a good team. And they upset the Bills last week, like you said. And, yeah, I think the Steelers have this one.
Well, I'm on the same train, and I'm going to explain it the best way I can. Here's a pendulum swing, right? And, okay, Roethlisberger didn't look that good. Did Derek Carr really look that good? Let's even it out. Oh, wow. The Raiders' pass rush looked better than last year. Well, you just beat a Super Bowl contending team in the Bills. Well, it evened out. And so exactly what Rusty said, and you agreed with him, TJ Watt is going to have a field day with the injuries on the offensive line with the Raiders. It's at home, and that's what pushed me to pick the Steelers. Would I be surprised if this is one of the dogs of the week? Not really. As long as the edge rushers for the Raiders can get in the backfield with Ben Roethlisberger.
That's one thing. The Steelers' inexperienced offensive line outside of Trey Turner. He's really the only experienced one on the line. That line held up very well against the Bills last weekend. Over-under is 47. No. Under.
No, not at all.
Nope.
Not at all.
1
Yeah.
o'clock. CBS. NFC South matchup, Saints at the Panthers. Chris, lone wolfing against
Let's
the
go.
Panthers again, dude. Why are you doing this to Sam Darnold? I mean, it's like you want him to win or something.
Last week was a little bit more of hope than anything. I thought that the Jets were going to play a lot better than they did. And they did play good in the second half last week. But this is a completely different game. Granted, I did pick this the other day before all these injuries started coming out for the Saints. I still think they could do it, though. I still think they could do it without Quan Alexander, without Marshawn Lattimore, and without whoever else, Marcus Davenport. But I think, like I said before, I think it's more about the offense for the Saints. If Jameis Winston can keep up what he did last week against the Packers, I think that the Saints will win in a shootout game. Because I don't believe in Darnold yet.
Yeah, I think
the only reason the Panthers won last week was because of Christian McCaffrey.
And I think they do again. I think Christian McCaffrey is over 100 total yards once again. Maybe even closer to the 150 like he went over last week. And the Panthers defense is very underrated. It's only been one game, but they sacked Zach Wilson 6 times last week. And the Saints offensive line, as highly touted as it is, they didn't allow a sack to Jameis Winston last week. I don't think anyways. But with Eric McCoy being out at center, moving Cesar Ruiz over, I don't know off the top of my head who that puts in at guard, left guard, I think it is that Ruiz plays. So I think that's the matchup I would look for the Panthers defense and Phil Snow is Derek Brown against whoever that guard is, because I think that gives them the best shot at having a really solid pass rush.
I was here. Let's talk about this, honestly, from the quarterback position. Jameis Winston, everybody hails his deep balls and his attributes. People talk about, Sam Darnold being in the same realm in a different scheme. And so I went with a better defense. I think the Panthers are a better defense. They took a whole draft to draft every defensive player. We know that. That was like unheralded. And okay, the Packers might be a Super Bowl contending team. I don't think they really cared about week one. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think Aaron Rodgers cared about his post-game interviews. I don't think he cared about – I don't think he cared about anything. I think he threw up his middle finger and said, this is what we're going to do in week one. And after this, if we're going to win a Super Bowl, I'm going to win it, and then you're going to get rid of me at the end of the year. And so I look at this being whoever has the last possession.
Yeah, could very well be. All those defensive players that Mark talked about in that 2020 draft class now in their second year. So growing together. That's how they do it.
So I looked it up. I looked up the depth chart. Ruiz is the right guard.
Right guard, okay.
So he's sliding over to the center. And the backup to both guard spots is Calvin Throckmorton. I don't even know. I've never even heard of that guy.
Undrafted out of Oregon. I don't know if it was this year or last year.
And Andrews Pete is the left guard.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, Throckmorton, he played tackle at Oregon. Slid inside the guard, I guess, at the NFL level. But, yeah, undrafted, though. It was a surprise that he was undrafted. To me, anyways. I thought he would have went sometime. But just want to update UCF. Louisville has kicked off. UCF up 7-0 on a Dylan Gabriel.
Let's go.
41-yard touchdown pass to Ryan O'Keefe on the second play of the game. Or no. That was on UCF's second play of the game. Louisville turned it over on downs at their own 44-yard line on their first drive. And this is at Louisville. Reminder, just saying. Okay, over-under, and this one is 45. That's tough. Maybe just under at 42.
I actually like the over in this one. I think that they can get to 49. I think it'll be like a 28-21 game.
1 p.m. Fox. Bengals at Bears. 2.5 for the Bears in this one. And we are all on the Burrow train.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good last week against not a high quality team necessarily in the Vikings, but a fringe playoff team.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people I think have them in the playoffs, and Joe Burrow, that was his first game back, so I'm rolling on the Burrow train right now, and I'm sure you guys talked about it last week because I missed the show, but I'm sure you guys talked about Jamar Chase finally being able to catch the ball. And if he can continue that into this game, I don't think they have a problem.
Just for you, we talked about that, honestly. I said Chris was going to have something to say that he finally didn't drop a ball. No, I think, in my opinion, I think the Bengals win this. The only scare that I have is does David Montgomery, run and put the Bears in position to take over this game? I think that's their only chance. I really do.
That's their only chance in any of their games. And how much Dalvin Cook went over 100 last week, didn't he?
I
think so.
104 or 102, yeah.
But yeah, I think the Bears defense throughout the preseason, and we saw it against the Rams. Now they did a decent job. I think that game could have been a lot worse than it was, but I don't think the Bears defense is the Bears defense everyone thought we were getting in the preseason and off season. So over under is 45. And again, I'm just going to go just under.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 p.m. on Fox. Texans 1-0 at the Browns, who lost to Kansas City last week. This is going to be, once the game kicks off and the line is locked in, this will be the largest the Browns have been favored since they returned in 1999. And I don't like it either. Really. I mean, the Texans showed something last week that we didn't think they would.
Yeah, but it's a completely different team. I mean, the Jaguars are still the Jaguars.
Yes.
And the Browns have proven last year and even last week that they are a legit team. They should have won that game against Kansas City last week if it wasn't for that what happened at the end of the game? I forget.
There's the punter dropped the snap.
That's what I'm talking about. If he didn't drop that snap, I think they could have won that game. But because he dropped that snap and they got such good field position.
But then Baker threw a pick on the potentially game-winning drive. I mean,
I'm a little bit more hesitant on the 13 line because Houston, in my opinion, is not the worst team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody talked about it. Everybody talked about the issues in the offseason. I had a gut feeling that you shouldn't go with a first-year coach and a first-year rookie quarterback, but I did because I believe that Houston Texans were just the worst team. They're not. They are not the worst team in the NFL. And you have to think about Tyrod Taylor has been successful at more than one stop. Even though I don't like him as a quarterback, he has been successful. But what I will say is I picked the Browns as a wild card this season, and they have the offense to offense out anybody. That's a weird saying, but hear what I'm saying. They should be able to score over 24 or 27 points a game. And if you're telling me that Myles Garrett, who's on the other end, tell me who's on the other end, doesn't help him out to get in the backfield of the Houston Texans, and they don't win this game, if they go 0-2, then they have to just recalibrate everything. I think they leave this game 1-1. I don't like the minus 13, though. I don't like it.
It's Jadeveon Clowney on the other side, just saying.
I'm curious, though, what
they got a clown over there.
I'm curious what Tyrod Taylor's record is against his former teams, though, because this is one of his former teams.
I would think it's pretty good, actually.
So, I mean,
But yeah, I'm hoping a lot for the Browns in this one. In many daily fantasy formats, I have picked both Chubb and when I get into a lower salary cap amount available in those, I go with Kareem Hunt just for the PPR aspect. But yeah, I think the Browns shouldn't have an issue. They don't cover 13 though. That's tough to do in the NFL.
Even if they go 0-2, hear me out before we leave. I think the Browns will reel off 4 wins or whatnot. If the Texans win this, I think the Texans could win their division.
No.
If they win it.
Over under is 48. Do the Texans score enough?
Mm-mm.
Okay. 1 p.m. CBS. Mark your Rams 1-0 at the Colts. The in-season Hard Knocks Colts now. Go.
Will be much tougher than the Bears, but I'm going to go with our defensive line wins this game. The only chance that the Colts have is the one area that I'm scared of, and it's our run defense. If Taylor gets off and just the whole game gets off, then we're in trouble. But make them pass. Make them pass.
It's exactly why I'm starting Jonathan Taylor in fantasy this week. Saw what David Montgomery did last week, and I'm excited to watch Jonathan Taylor go off in fantasy this week. But it won't be enough. Carson Wentz will throw a pick to Jalen Ramsey in this one, and the Colts start 0-2.
One interception.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, I think, at least. Is it going to be an advantage or a disadvantage, do you think, if Wentz gets knocked out of the game?
He won't get knocked out of the game. But the biggest thing is if Eric Fisher plays in this game or not. Because if he does, the Colts have a lot better chance at protecting against Aaron Donald. Because we saw against the Bears, their new defensive coordinator, whose name I'm blanking. No, it's Raheem Morris, right?
Maybe.
I believe so. I believe it's Raheem Morris, yeah, in LA. But yeah, we saw against the Bears, they moved Donald around and moved him to defensive end at times on the outside.
How do you do that? I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I think if Fisher plays, it's going to be a lot closer game than what it would be if he doesn't. So
I'd use Donald in 4 different positions. That's just me.
over under is again 48. We have 3 straight games of 48. So
No, this is going to be a defensive game.
concur. Judgment affirmed. 1 p.m. Fox. Sorry, needed to throw in some legal discussion on here.
Do the Rams cover, though, or do they only win by a field goal?
They do cover.
I think they covered.
They do. Win by a touchdown. AFC East divisional matchup. Bills at the Dolphins. Now, the thing is, if the Dolphins win, they are 2-0 in division if they win this game. Massive leg up on the Patriots and the Bills. Sorry, Chris, I'm not including the Jets.
I'm not either, so that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're all picking the Bills, and I do still love the Bills as the AFC Super Bowl representative, but the Dolphins played very well, specifically on defense last week. So
I picked the Bills for that sole reason that you can't go 0-2. Does that make sense? that doesn't mean that they're any better than the Dolphins right now. But if I'm picking an MVP in the NFL, he's the difference in this type of game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game was tough for me to pick because I think that the Dolphins have a solid shot at actually winning this game. But I think it all depends on the quarterback play for both teams. Obviously, you guys know I'm not really a big Tua guy.
Tua.
And I picked Josh Allen as my MVP. But I guess it's also about the Dolphins defense because you had mentioned what the Steelers did to the Bills last week. And the Dolphins, they're not nearly as good as the Steelers, but they still have a solid defense. So if they can get through that line and get to Josh Allen, I think it'll be a tough game for the Bills offense. But I don't know. I just, again, kind of like Mark, if Allen's going to win the MVP, he has to win a game like this.
Yeah, Jerome Baker's been a stud for the Dolphins at linebacker. Thing that makes the difference in this game, both games Stephon Diggs played against the Dolphins last year, he torched them. It doesn't matter if it's Byron Jones or Xavier Howard on him. He's going to torch them. So, unlike he did against the Steelers last week, but that's because Allen didn't have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
Over under, like I said, again, 48. I don't think so. So, yeah. 1 p.m. on Fox, actually. It's one of those weird ones. That's an AFC matchup on Fox. Doesn't make very much sense.
Not at all.
Okay. The other AFC's matchup this weekend.
Whoa, we're all going Patriots? Whoa.
Patriots at Jets.
Jets will win now.
No, they won't.
Maybe that's what I was going for.
Chris, it's your team, so take it.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to see the Jets win, it's the home opener and all that, but they just have too many problems to work out here. The offensive line was terrible last week, and they don't have their star left tackle now for 4 to 8 weeks or whatever it is. And, it's Zach Wilson's second game. So I'm still the season didn't start off the way I thought it was going to. And also, obviously, we have that pretty bad defense, especially in the secondary. So a lot of the signs are pointing towards the Patriots winning, especially since they lost last week. So Bill Belichick and co are raring to go here. They're going to go out and probably put up 40 on the Jets this week. And, Mac Jones, it's a rookie on rookie matchup. I think it's the first one of the season so far in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Mac Jones gets the first victory here in this long rivalry here that's going to come for the next 15 years.
Please beat them. Please beat them, Chris.
I hope they do. I hope we're all wrong, but
just so my bets look good. You know, the Patriots 0-2, that makes it look a lot better that they're going to finish fourth in the division. So,
I agree with Chris that I do think that they have the quarterbacks of the near future. When I say near future, that could be 5-8 years, barring injuries. The one thing that I give the Patriots a leg up on, or 2 or 3 things, is 1, injuries, 2, offensive line. I think Mac Jones is going to have a lot more time than Zach Wilson. He's going to have to go outside the pocket and do what he did last week, even though he got better in the second half. And game planning, just because Belichick is that good after losses.
over under in this one, low. It's the lowest one of the weekend. 43 for the rookie quarterbacks. I like the under.
Like I said, I could see the Patriots putting up 40 on the Jets. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's over.
1 p.m. CBS. Broncos at Jags. Broncos getting 6, coming off a win at the Giants. They go down south to face the Jags, coming off a loss to the Texans. Yeah, dude, Broncos are looking pretty good. Teddy B had the offense rolling. 27 points against the Giants. So,
yeah, another rookie quarterback here too with Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 overall pick. He didn't look that great last week against Houston. I mean, I know it's not entirely his fault, but still, I think the Broncos are a much better defense than Houston. So I think it's going to be the same story as last week. I think the defense is going to get to him a lot.
I mean, besides the 3 picks, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns is pretty good for Trevor Lawrence.
Well, the time of the game when it came, though.
I know, but I appreciated the DJ Chark touchdown in fantasy, though.
I would say that Teddy B looked pretty good, and if he doesn't, they still have a very capable backup. And does the Broncos not have a lot of big names on defense? Regardless if they get a sack or not, you have to game plan for multiple people on that defense. And so I'm interested in seeing that. It would be something if the Jaguars beat the Broncos. It really, that would solidify, like, oh my gosh, Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good, and Urban Meyer has a place in the NFL. If they lose this week, I'm interested in seeing how both react, because Urban hasn't been accustomed to a lot of losses. Trevor, that's his first loss in any regular season since like his freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
Well,
and all I'm saying is I'm hoping for a big game from James Robinson. Probably not going to happen, but I'm hoping it does because I need him on my fantasy team.
Well, I think with 3 interceptions in the first game, I think everyone has to ask, does Trevor Lawrence break Peyton Manning's rookie interception record? I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I believe it's in the 20-something.
Here would be my
17 games, too.
I hate to say this because he's such a, in my opinion, still a good quarterback, but did he have so many weapons around him that he was like this really good quarterback? And he had some faults in last season's college football playoff.
Yep. Over under is 46. Going under. Broncos defense, too good. 1 p.m. CBS. Vikings at the Cardinals. Mark, we're all with you this week, dude. You're not lone wolfing the Cards against the Vikings. Yeah. Go, Mark.
I won't even talk about the Cardinals this much because they could lose, but how do you have 17 flags last week as the Vikings? Only 12 were called. You have to clean that up. If you have anywhere near that, the Cardinals roll by, 12 points?
You know why the Vikings had that many? Because they're one of the many teams that did not play their starters in the preseason and lost.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of surprised that this is only a 3.5-point game, though, because I thought the Cardinals would be favored by at least 6, maybe even 7. The Vikings, like you said, they were penalty heavy last week, and I don't know if they're going to clean those up this week. Plus, the Cardinals, Mark was one of the only people that actually believed in them last week. They pulled off a big upset against the Tennessee Titans, and the Vikings are a very similar team to them. They're a run first and a so-so defense. So, and they're not I don't think they're as good. Yes, they have decent receivers, but I think Tennessee's receivers are better. So I just think that overall the Vikings are not as good of a team as Tennessee, and we saw what the Cardinals did last week to Tennessee. So I expect them to do it again.
Yeah. I think the Vikings secondary isn't that great either. And we already know they're not going to have Anthony Barr or Everson Griffin. So once again, It's going to be Danielle Hunter.
And I'm looking for a big game from the defense too, because they're my starting defense right now.
Danielle Hunter, Eric Kendricks, really.
I'm talking about the Cardinals, not the Vikings. The Cardinals are my defense.
How much do you want to bet Chandler Jones does not have 5 sacks again?
No, he's not going to have 5 sacks again.
Pretty good lead, though, for the sack leader this year.
Yeah.
Over-under is 51.
He's on pace for 85, I think. Think he can get that?
Sure. 51. Let's go over.
Yeah.
4:05 on Fox. I don't understand why both Fox games in the afternoon are 4:05 and both CBS are 4:25, but whatever. I don't make the schedule. That's fine. Falcons at Bucks. 12.5 for the Super Bowl champs. And they'll cover.
Is there much to talk about this besides one team is clearly better than the other?
Mm-hmm. It's going to look a lot like the Falcons-Eagles game last week.
Yeah, Falcons suck. The Bucks are good. Tom Brady throws for 303 touchdowns.
I hope so. He's my quarterback.
I don't know that he even plays the fourth quarter. I'm telling you. Unless there's turnovers in this game, I could see the Bucks going, we're up 3 touchdowns. Let's get someone else some time.
I was going to say we don't want to see Kyle Trask, but he wouldn't be in next anyways. It's Blaine Gabbert.
No, Brady's going to make it so that the score ends up being 28-3 as the final score, just to rub it into Matt Ryan's face again, like he did the other day with that video that he put out.
You mean Brady? You said Breeze.
I meant Brady. He's going to rub it in his face like he did the other day with that video that he put out.
Over under for this one is 52.
Sure.
I don't think so.
Falcons only scored 6 last week.
It could be high scoring though. It could be. I mean, look at the Dallas and.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks did give up a lot against the Cowboys that I did not think they would, but hopefully they do because I have Calvin Ridley in fantasy. So
yeah, so do I.
4:05 on Fox. Cowboys at Chargers.
Let's go.
Chargers getting 3.5 marks. Lone Wolfing on the Lone Star.
You know, with the injury, we all know DeMarcus being out makes it huge. But what I will say, and I believe in the Chargers. I like the Chargers. I picked them as a football or a playoff team. Guys, the Dallas offense is for real. It really is. And who else are you going to pick as a dog? Is it going to be the Raiders? Is it going to be someone that loses but covers by a half a point? And so I think these are 2 high-scoring teams. The only thing that worries me is I do 100% believe that the LA Chargers, I got it right this time, have a better defense. But I do believe in Dallas's offensive line. I do believe they have multiple wide receivers. And I do believe Dak Prescott is a really good NFL quarterback. The only thing that it comes down to is, can they get one stop? And if they can't, I still believe that it could be a 41-38 game or a 38-37 game. It's going to be a field goal type of game.
You kind of nailed it on the head there. The defenses are the difference here. And we already talked about it earlier in the show. The Cowboys are without their best defensive player, DeMarcus Lawrence.
I know.
So I just think that the Chargers offensive line is going to hold down the fort, and Herbert's going to have all the time in the world to look all over the field, throw wherever he wants to, do whatever he wants to do. And I think that the Chargers are going to win this one by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, I think for the first time in maybe ever that I've watched NFL football, the Chargers actually have, in my mind, the better of both lines in this matchup. The Cowboys' offensive line is not the Cowboys' offensive line that it was 3 seasons ago.
Not terrible.
Lyle Collins is now suspended. They don't have DeMarcus Lawrence. They don't have Randy Gregory on defense. So I think, like I said, when we talked about the Brian Bulaga injury, I don't think it's that big of a deal because the Cowboys' star pass rushers are out. So it's the backups against a backup. And whoever wins that, I think, might win the game, but I don't necessarily that's the deciding factor. I just think Justin Herbert looked very good against a Washington defense that was supposed to be good. We saw that they were Swiss cheese once again on Thursday, so maybe Washington's defense isn't that good, at least in the secondary. But, yeah, and we saw the Cowboys put up gaudy numbers against the Bucs defense that was supposed to be very good. Again, I don't think the Bucs secondary is as good as the front seven.
I don't like the Bucs.
But I think that's the kind of opposite with the Chargers. I think their secondary is a slight tick better than the front seven, despite having Joey Bosa and Kenneth Murray. But, yeah, I think Justin Herbert's really the dude in this one, and he outduels Dak Prescott. I'm starting Amari Cooper this week. I didn't start him last week when he put 30 on the bench, and I'm not starting Dak Prescott because I have Aaron Rodgers in our Dynasty League, and he's playing the Lions, so that's a lot better matchup. But
yeah.
Before we go, I really love Keenan Allen. I've loved him for a long time, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that maybe he doesn't lead your fantasy as a one-wide receiver, but he's just so solid every game. But I had to be different with the Cardinals last week. So
over-under is the highest one of the weekend, 56.
I like it. I think it's high scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. 425 CBS, just to update UCF, Louisville. Malik Cunningham ran in for a touchdown, so it is 7-7. 1 minute to go in the first quarter. This was, to me, the most surprising spread of the weekend. Titans at Seahawks. Seahawks getting 6.5 against the Titans. I mean, they did just get annihilated by the Cardinals at home. But still, I still think this is a closer than 6.5 point type of game.
They match up well, in my opinion. I don't know. You tell me any different. I think these two teams are, besides the quarterback, are pretty identical.
Yeah, I mean, they like the run. They both want to run the ball and use the play action. Now, it never has really worked out for the Seahawks to do that. They start out saying they want to run the ball, and then that Russell Wilson ends up throwing 30 times. So,
yeah, I think the difference here is Russell Wilson. He's going to do his usual early season MVP and then fall off after week 5 or 6. So, but I think, yeah, he's going to shred this Titans defense, and the Titans aren't going to be able to run with Henry because they're going to need to throw the ball. And I just think it's not going to work out.
I think the
Well-
opposite. I think they will be able to run with Derrick Henry, I think they will be able to run with Derrick Henry, because that will keep Russ off the field.
That's what worries me about the Titans being, maybe a dog of the week is Henry running on the field and keeping it out of Russell Wilson's hands.
Yeah, I think that's how the Titans can win the game. I mean, and they
I-
have to be better passing the ball. They have to. I mean, what is the point of getting Julio Jones? He sucked in week 1, dude, which I'm happy about. I mean, I already told you Julio Jones is not worth what he got, but
I think being in Seattle is a huge home field advantage. I think they are beside, you look at Kansas City and them as, I think, 1 and 1A as a home field advantage. And I will say this, and I know that no one would agree with me if you're like Stephen A. Smith or I forgot to mention Bart Scott was going to shave his eyebrow if the 49ers beat the Eagles. Or no.
the Eagles win.
49ers because he doesn't believe in the Eagles. But I would be interested in seeing Kirk Cousins as the quarterback of the Titans. I actually think that he would make the Titans move more than Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill had a great year. You see that out of people in their first-year coaches. I think they've kind of figured it out. And Kirk Cousins had some good years in Washington. He's been so-so in Minnesota. But with the defense they have down there and with Mike Vrabel, I think a perfect quarterback for the Titans system would be Kirk Cousins.
With what defense, Mark? with what defense do the Titans have?
Well, it was terrible in week 1, but I think Mike
Last year.
I think he's gonna figure it out. Well, their defense was good last year.
They were a sieve in the secondary. I mean, it was.
They lost 1 playoff game by minimal points. You can't tell me they didn't have a decent defense.
Over under is 54, the second highest of the weekend. It's crazy. All 4 of the afternoon games are all in the 50s. After all but 1 of the 1 o'clock games are the Eagles and Niners is 50 exactly. All 4 of the afternoons are over 50 though. So
after you ate all your foods, you just snooze off and you don't know.
54 though. Let's go over, sure. High scoring affair in Seattle. 425 CBS. Sunday Night Football. Chiefs at the Ravens. Rematch from last season. No. Lamar looked terrible in week 1, other than him running the ball and 1 long throw to Sammy Watkins. I don't think he was that great. And we saw that the Raiders were able to get pressure. Well, what are they going to do against an all-pro defensive tackle in Chris Jones that, just like Aaron Donald in week 1, Chris Jones was moving to defensive end at points in the game too, against the Browns. Patrick Mahomes is 11-0 in September, dude.
That is the only thing that scares me because that streak has to end, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to end.
Well, not against the Ravens because Lamar Jackson is 0 for whatever against the Chiefs too.
Yeah,
He
the
can't
Chiefs
beat
are
the
the only
Chiefs.
team he can't beat.
But that's
So
the weirdest thing when you bet sports or anything in America is something has to give. I am picking the Chiefs because they have better players, whether it's Tyreek Hill against who's the best wideout long range for Baltimore, Sammy Watkins, which was on the Chiefs, right? They just gave their guard up, Brown, to the Chiefs.
Tackle.
Sorry. And they just gave him to the Chiefs, who they have to play. I mean, like, how do you beat someone unless you just go, Well, Lamar Jackson, you have to outduel everybody on the Chiefs, and I don't see that happening. Does that make sense? Like, there's no way that happens.
Oh my goodness. What a freaking catch. Who is this man?
UNC or Louisville?
Jalen Robinson, 15-yard touchdown reception from Dylan Gabriel, his second of the night. Did he reach back with one hand? It wasn't that impressive because he kind of like tipped it to himself. But to reach back with one hand and get it is
OBJ style.
Kind of, yeah. It was behind him. Like, it was behind his body, and he reached back and like got it with his right hand. But anyways, yeah, dude, Chiefs are gonna win. Lamar can't beat the Chiefs, and I know because we're all on the Chiefs that they're gonna lose now, like Mark always said. But that's a lump I can take.
Yep.
I really do. Since we all picked them, I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore wins this game. But I have this saying, right? I would rather lose to you in the season and beat you in the playoffs.
The one thing is Mark Andrews, can you please get more than 5 freaking fantasy points this weekend?
Yes, please.
And I wonder if they take a page out of the Raiders playbook and give him 19 targets like Darren Waller did. Granted, the Ravens, I want to know what the stat is. How many times has Lamar Jackson thrown more than 30 times in a game? Probably not many, I would think.
If they lose this game, I think the Browns could have a long season. Does that make sense? I think with their injuries, it could pile on after this loss.
What are you talking about? The Browns, the Ravens.
Sorry, sorry. I think it's almost it's hard to say that someone has a must win in week 2, but the way that it happened in week 1 with your injuries, it's almost a must win.
Yeah, and the Ravens lost another corner, if you didn't know. I didn't put that in the injury report because he's not a name that many people know, but they did lose another I don't think he's a starter, but he was the nickel, I think. I think they lost their nickel corner. So it's just it was an ACL again, another ACL for the Ravens. Over under is 55. What do we think? Over.
Yeah, I think it goes over.
820 NBC. All right. I don't really want to go to the next one because it's pretty bad, but best bets started out well. Week 1 was 2-1 when I did the college football 3. Week 1 of NFL did not treat me kindly. 0-3. I had the Titans. -3 against the Cardinals. Washington with -1 against the Chargers, and then the Packers -4 at the Saints. Not very good, y'all. But we move on. I like these ones here. It was a tougher week, I feel like, to pick 3. But I'm picking the Bengals +2.5 at Chicago. We already talked about how we love Joe Burrow. Chicago's defense isn't what we thought it was going to be. Rams -3.5 at Indianapolis. That's why I kind of chuckled a little bit when you asked if I think they cover, Chris, because I do think they cover. Win by a touchdown there at Indy. And then the Patriots, sorry, Chris, -6 at the Jets. You already said you think they can put 40 up on the Jets defense. I hope I'm wrong. Like I said, I hope the Jets win. So my Patriots finishing 4th in the division bet looks a little bit better.
I mean, last week I was a little shaky with your picks. But this week I agree all across the board. I picked all 3 of these teams to win. So, yeah, I think that these are perfectly fine.
They got to cover for me to win, though.
Well, I think the Rams are the only game I think has the chance of not happening. But the other 2 games, I think are, yeah.
I think you have 2 solid picks, and the Bears-Bengals could be, I don't know.
It's okay if they lose by 1 or 2, they still cover. So.
I like it. I like these week's picks.
I was considering the Texans at +13. but it didn't go there. All right, NFL lock standings. Mark, we dropped it last week. Chris had the Niners. Mark, you and I, we got rolled by the Saints with the Packers.
Let's go.
Got rolled is a good description.
All right, here we go. We all have different ones this week for the first time this season. Chris is on the Chiefs. At the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. I am on the Bucks home against the Falcons, and Mark on the Browns home against the Texans. Chris is really the only close game.
Yeah. I still don't understand why that's a close game, though, because we already talked about it, so I'm not going to go into it, but Lamar can't beat the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes is undefeated in September. So right there, Chiefs win.
I like Rusty's pick across the board because I think they take care of business. And even though I didn't like the -13, but there's always that like suspicion, like, oh, well, it's the Browns. They'll find a way to F up a game or lose it or whatnot. So that scares me. And you do have two elite quarterbacks with the Chiefs in Baltimore. So I think Rusty you're at the top this week in the lock. If something bad happens, it's going to be me or Chris.
Luckily, we don't have to get the spread right in the locks, so that's at least a good thing, Mark. All right, in the dogs though, we do get a point for covering the spread. So, yeah, look at that, boys. We are rolling on the dogs, baby. All 4-0. Last week, Chris got the Chargers winning outright, and they covered the +1. And Mark and I, we were on Miami beating the Patriots in New England. They were +3 in that matchup. So Chris and I are together on this one. We're on the Cincinnati Bengals. That makes it 3. I'm on them outright. I am on the best bet for them to cover 2.5, and I'm on the dog for them to win outright and cover. So +2.5 at Chicago. Mark's on the Cowboys, +3.5 at the Chargers.
I kind of had no choice other than to pick the Bengals because I think the Bengals are the only underdog I actually picked.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to keep true with the other picks, they were my only option. But, yeah, I do think that they win and cover.
Yeah, same here. By myself, lone wolfing, I did last week. It worked out in a couple times. The other two teams that I was torn with is I think the Raiders can cover -6, and I think the Eagles have a shot against the 49ers, but I went with two high-scoring offenses, and either the Cowboys win or I think the Chargers win by field goal.
Yeah, I was when I saw Chris pick the Bengals, I was close to taking the Eagles, but I'm more confident the Bengals will beat the Bears than I am that the Eagles will beat the Niners. Just a little bit more confident. So, all right, that is all for the show. Next week on Football Friday, we will have Week 3 previews here, and we will be recapping the Monday night game between the Lions and the Packers at Lambeau, and the Panthers at Texans at NRG Stadium in Houston. Also recapping all of the NCAA or previewing all the NCAA NFL games just like we did today. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube and Facebook. Thank y'all. And one more thing. Happy birthday, Dad. Hope you're having a good dinner tonight.
Ralph.
Yeah, it's my dad's birthday tonight. So
happy birthday, Mr. Miller.
And